O Show. This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
South Florida's premier law enforcement agency is now hiring individuals like you. The Fort Lauderdale Police Department is now accepting applications for non-certified and certified police officer positions. Minimum requirements and qualifications can be found at flpdjobs.com. That's flpdjobs.com. Are you ready? The city of Fort Lauderdale is an equal opportunity employer.
Oh, great. You got a doorbell camera. Now you got a front row seat to your house getting robbed.
No.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Get out of my house!
Ooh, Mom's jewelry. There goes the TV. I'm sure it'll turn up at the pawn shop.
No!
Just because you can see them, that doesn't mean you can stop them. With Flores, you get 24-hour monitoring, a free home security system, and professional installation. Plus, a free doorbell camera.
Free?
One that'll actually work for you. It's not total security unless it's the Sloan Shield. Call 1-800-ALARM-ME.
When protecting your family is your priority, there's nothing more important than a roof above the people you love. Call Tommy B. Butts Jr. Enterprises.com, 954-735-9826 or 954-394-1411 and ask to speak to Tommy, the owner. They specialize in all kinds of roofs, led by their highly crafted, skilled, and professional roof mechanics. All of their previous customers have an opportunity to enter their bi-weekly drawings to receive free an exterior impact metal door. Please call for more details. That's Tommy B. Butts Jr. Enterprises.com, 954-735-9826 or 954-394-1411. Trust Tommy to fortify and protect what's most important to you, your family.
This is the Big O Show.
Sports fans love a place with great food, cold drinks, and TVs everywhere. That's why sports fans love Sports Grill and their 7 amazing locations. Check out the Bird Road location at 11481 Southwest 40th Street in the back corner of the West Bird Shopping Center. Sports Grill is also now offering some great employment opportunities. All kinds of positions are now available from kitchen to hosting. Call for more information at 305-485-8845. From wraps to salads to amazingly delicious specialty dishes, Sports Grill is the home to the legendary special grilled wings. Since 1987, Sports Grill, good food, good drink, and good friends.
It's the Big O Show. Judge, you tuned in to the hottest sports radio.
When you need your warehouse looking good while staying efficient, there's only one place to find the finest racks in the business. Pallet Rack City in Hialeah. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. Pallet Rack City is the company you need when you want your warehouse sporting the finest racks in the business. After all, who doesn't love a great rack? Pallet Rack City. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547.
Lando, a.k.a. the Big O. He covers all the South Florida teams.
For over 16 years, EJDconstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDconstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDconstruction.com.
Dolphins to the heat, well, you know what I mean. Monday to Friday, Friday Pablo in the...
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
Folks, you can support the hardest working sports talk show in South Florida through Cash App or Venmo. Just search Cash Big O Show. Support us through Cash App or Venmo. Cash Big O Show. We thank you for your incredible support.
No one has a similar show. Talk sports, talk plays, talk.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
Live and direct, because nobody do it better than Big O in the set. From sunrise, listen live.
When you're ready to purchase a new home or refinance the one you have, American Dream Lending will make sure your loan experience is easy with fast approvals and quick closings. With many loan programs and competitive rates, now is the time to turn your dreams into reality. Ask about special financing for veterans. They never charge an application fee, and you will work directly with one of their experienced loan professionals. Stop dreaming and contact American Dream Lending today, 786-802-1727, or online at adreamlending.com. The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc., ownership, management, sponsors, or website. When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
All righty. Good morning, boys and girls. Yes, sir. Another edition of the Big O Radio Show, driven by, of course, the great Sean Stanley. That's why we're all here. We're all here for Sean. Appreciate all of you out there, as always, on a Wednesday, on a hump day. Normally, on Wednesdays, we start an hour earlier at 9 for the Pallet Rack City Inside the Paint show. But today, Ira's got that whole West Coast thing, right? So 3 hours, right? So let's move it 3 hours. So he'll do it at noon instead. So he'll do it noon to 1, and Clay and Ira will then carry you for that hour and have some fun. We will do our best here for the next 2 hours, obviously, to talk about plenty of things going on in the world of sports. Of course, you can chime in there on the YouTube channel. I see the chat board is already grinding. Steve Chapman already in first on the day. Beautiful thing. And don't forget, of course, to always smash the like button when you're watching or if you're listening to the podcast. And, progress is always being made on the show, and we really appreciate all of the participants. Everybody that watches, everybody that downloads, everybody that hits the like button, subscribes, hit the notification bell. All of those things are so important. Obviously, our incredible sponsors, and that list is growing also as we're working on more things behind the scenes. And today, I want to thank Jason Barrett and his company because it's really they wrote they called me up and obviously they're smart enough to realize what's going on here with our platform. It's interesting how locally nobody talks about it, right? There's only one dude that can write about it, but he'll write about only negative stuff. That's it. It's nothing positive. It's never like that. You know what I'm saying? So, and we're doing something that I believe is kind of pioneering right now in the country. Nobody's done this. And, it's a digital platform, which is what I was trying to do with Onside, by the way. But obviously they weren't committed. So it is what it is. But I'm committed in many different ways, some people would say. Maybe I need a straitjacket and a rubber room, too. But anyway, so as you all know, this is a platform that we're trying to continue to expand and add more and more layers to it to cover everything in South Florida sports. That's what we do. And we cover the national stories, of course. It's a regular type of deal, But for us a digital platform to then form the staff that we have formed so far already with the best insiders for the Canes, for the Dolphins, and for the Miami Heat. And we're not done yet, obviously. We're going to do the whole thing because I've always been an all-sports guy. And Jason and his company and Brian know called me and interviewed me last week, and we went over a lot of I don't know if you guys read the article. You can go to our Twitter page at Big O Show. It's on Facebook at Big O Show or Orlando Alzagari. There's two different Facebook pages, Orlando Alzagari and Big O Show. And then it's also on LinkedIn. Also, there you can put it there. I don't think you can. I don't think you can put links on Instagram, right? You can only put like your main link or whatever on the profile. So I didn't put it on Instagram, but if you want to check out the article, it's there, and they did a great job. And what I liked was that they really didn't try to. They didn't really try to explain what I said. They used a lot of what I said. So it was good because the message that I wanted to get out got out, and I explained everything and how all of this came together. And they did a great job of giving us the platform to be able to obviously talk about this. And so I'm really proud of what we've accomplished in an incredibly short time, by the way, 5.5 months. So really, really, thank you very much to everybody at Barrett Sports Media. A really nice article overall. If you get a chance, check it out. And it kind of tells you, those of you that have listened to this show on a hardcore basis, you're going to know about half that article, because I've talked about it. You know what I mean? It's not like you guys know me. I'm just, everything's right here. It's all hard. It's just, I lay it all out there. That's who I am. And so, you'll know about some of those things, but then there'll be other things, and then you'll find out about it. But it's good. It's a good job, and I appreciate them noticing something that we're doing here that is not being done anywhere in the country, but I may start something in other places. And so we'll see if other members of the media who are now being pushed out of the business because, the business is destroyed and they want to just limit it and control it and all that kind of stuff. It's harder to get objective media nowadays. It's always driven by something, and that's the sad part. That's not what our country's about. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to get that here. You know what I mean? And you're going to get disagreements, and you're going to get a difference of opinions, and that's great. That's fantastic. That's the way it should be. Okay. That's the way we should be living our lives. So thank you to Barrett Sports Media. Very, very cool. Very nice article on their part. Alan Poupart will join us at 11:30 with the Sports Grill Miami Dolphins report. So we'll have a little fun with Alan, and we'll talk all things Miami Dolphins. Obviously, that's going to be a sore spot for a while now, and it's the part about this story that kind of it has all kinds of jagged edges. Let's put it that way. Is that there's a difference of opinion on all kinds of things, whether Tua can play, whether Tua can't, whether it's the coach's issue or whether it's not, whether it's front office or not, whether it's all of them, whether it's only one of them, whether it's two of the three, whether you throw in the owner also, whether, it's this whole argument. And I've mentioned this before. This is the part that sucks, that at the end of the year, it pits us against each other, even though it's not your fault, even though it's not my fault. We don't play the game. We don't coach the game. We don't prepare for the game. We don't draft. We don't do anything. All we do is watch, emotionally get involved, financially get involved. And, it's one of those things that's kind of tied to your DNA, right? I'm a born and bred South Floridian for 55 years. From the moment I was born in Belglade, Florida, and growing up here in South Florida, all I do is eat, live, and breathe South Florida sports. That's always the heart and soul. So it's part of my DNA. I grew up with the Dolphins and the Strikers. And the Canes. I had the Dolphins and the Canes, then we added the Strikers, and then that's it. And then later on, we started getting the Marlins and the Heat and the Panthers and all that kind of stuff, and Inter Miami. Well, Fusion and then Inter Miami. So I've always been a local guy. That's always been my thing. And a lot of you are the same way. And so then this hurts, right? It hurts that the Marlins aren't active in free agency. It hurts that they're really not committed to winning by spending money. You know what I mean? It's frustrating that the Panthers have fallen short for so many years. I think now, they're going to explode, but whatever. I almost feel like the Panthers are like Bitcoin, that it's gaining momentum, and it's about to just explode. You know what I mean? And so anyway, so this pits us against each other because in the end, whether you're right or wrong about Tua or about Flo or about Greer or about Ross or about the whole team or about this or about that or whatever it is, in the end, whether you're right or wrong, we all want the same thing. We all just want the Dolphins to win, dude, because it's been so damn long, and it pains me to see like these hardcore Dolphin fans, whether it's Big Ed or whether it's NorCal or whether it's Dolph Freaky or whether it's, you name it. Okay. It's the bandits, whoever I could come up with, Gorilla Luke. And you see all these hardcore Dolphin fans, man, and they are in pain. And they are quick to turn the page and say, oh, it was a rough year, this and that, but I'll be here next year. And in the end, that's what it really is all about. We can bitch, we can complain, we can point fingers, but you and I know we're not quitting. We can talk all the crap we want. You can burn somebody's jersey or whatever. You're still going to love the team. You're still going to watch next year, whatever. It sucks. And that's the part about all of this, that it ends up stinging all of us, right? And then we end up arguing amongst each other, what the hell's the problem? And oh, you're wrong, and you're wrong, and no, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. No, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And in the end, it's like, it's them, not us. We're not the problem. Okay. We do our jobs. All right. We love the team. We talk about the team, buy the tickets, travel to see them, wear the jerseys, buy the banners, you name it, right? I mean, recently, right? We added to the show this new Dolphin banner, this new Heat banner, this new Canes banner, right? Cost me money. Why the hell do I think why did I add it? You think I added just for effects? No. I added it because I effing love these teams and I want them all to win and win championships every year. But it's just, it's that's the part that sucks about all of this, man. Is that now we end up here, arguing with each other about this, that, and, whatever. No, fire flow. We want Harbaugh. And, I don't want Harbaugh. And, whatever. Man, it's just frustrating. And it's year after year. And, you thought that the first 2 years were the building blocks. And then you kind of look at this year and, and again, we all have difference of opinions here on how this thing is going and what direction it's going in. And should they continue in this direction? But that's the effed up part, man, that we just end up here fighting against each other when we all want the same thing. We all want a team that wins, a team that can represent Miami Dolphin fans all over the world the right way. Look, great example is the Miami Heat. It's an awesome example, right? Here's the difference between watching the Miami Heat. The Panthers are like that now too. It's just most of you don't notice it because you don't follow hockey, but I'll leave that there later. But the Heat tonight, or even the other night when you're watching against Golden State, no matter how many guys are injured, no matter Jimmy went out, whatever, you stay watching. Do you know why? Because you have Rex Chapman burned in your mind. Because you have 31-10 with a bunch of scrubs in a second half of a season burned in your mind. Because you have a bunch of young guys that ended up going to the finals in the bubble in your mind. My point is that with the Miami Heat, the hope is always there because it's such an exceptional organization from top to bottom. that you're always going to be watching no matter what. Now, with the Marlins, you could give up and not even watch because you gave up. You don't believe in anything that they're going to do. The Panthers, for those of you, in other years, not now. I mean, if you do it now, you're an idiot. But I'm just saying, in years past, you're like, yeah, whatever. They're not doing anything. They're out of here. And with the Heat, it's different. With the Heat, you're always watching because you never know what you're gonna see. Like tonight, they're not gonna play with Butler, right? In Portland. And they're missing Bam, and they're missing a bunch of other guys and all that good stuff. And then you're going, well, they should lose, but wait a minute. We're talking about the Heat. We're talking about Eric Spoelstra. We're talking about a real coach that knows how to prepare their players and even the backups. Like yesterday, you're watching Caleb Martin, dude. And that dude just continues to look like, 2 nights ago, and he just looks like he's developing into actually a player. I know it's too early to call it, but damn, dude. You know what I'm saying? You're Yurtsevin, and you're like, damn, this kid can rebound. He's got some skills offensively. And so tonight you'll be watching the Portland game because even as injury riddled and how many people they're missing for whatever reasons, you still have a shot because it's the Heat. And we don't feel like that about the Dolphins because they haven't earned that. And that's where we all want to get. We want to get to the point where we believe in the Dolphins no matter what. And you can always believe in the Heat no matter what, because even if they lose against Golden State, like Ira and I were talking about yesterday, there's no such thing as a satisfactory loss. But damn, dude, I mean, considering everything that happened to them and all the people missing the other night, and they still were a tight game all the way to the end, you got to go, holy crap, against the number 1 team in the NBA. These guys still gave it all to them. And it's funny because sometimes I get to see the other broadcast, and they had nothing but praise for the Miami Heat. Nothing. That's all they could do is talk about how you can never ever have a letdown against this team. They will make you pay. Don't look at the name on the jersey. Look at the name on the front, because that's what they play for. They was like impeccable respect the Warrior announcers had for anybody. You know what I mean? That was on that team. And that's kind of, what we want for our Dolphins. We want to get to the point where the Dolphins are that team that you always Shula had it like that, right? Didn't matter. Woodstock, Super Bowl, Doug Peterson, 325. You know what I'm saying? It didn't matter. He was going to try to win. He didn't care if Guy Benjamin was his quarterback. He was going, you felt like you had a chance. Boy, young people right now are going, Guy Benjamin. What the hell is a Guy Benjamin? And the older ones are going, wow, that's a blast from the past. And Pablo goes, I'm impressed by this new kid Guy. Exactly, Kyle Guy. Like, comes out of nowhere, got the moxie, shooting lights out. And this is the Heat. This is the Heat. This is why I've said over the last few years, do you even take Summer League for granted with the Heat? No, you don't. Because Summer League seems to find a new guy. They're like, hey, who's that young guy? Wow. And this isn't like a mini camp in football where some guy plays well and then all of a sudden you think it's going to translate, and it usually never does, that kind of stuff. But with the Heat, it's different. If they find a guy in the Summer League, you're like, okay, wait a minute, there might be something to this. They've been doing this for 2 decades now. All right? They find guys. I don't know what it is, but they'll find a guy or two or whatever, and they're doing it now. Like to get to that point with the Dolphins. So at the end of the year, we're not fighting against each other about this. We're not arguing about what's wrong. Let's talk about what's right. Let's talk about what we can add on top of what's right. You know what I mean? That's kind of what the Panthers are doing now. And by the way, they do the same thing. They've missed Barkov and they win. They miss players, then they miss a goalie and they keep winning. They've done the same thing this year. They've missed guys and they're so deep that they've been able to even overcome at times their best player. I know most of you don't notice that, don't care about it. I get it. But that's kind of where we're at, man. It's tough. By the way, GP Trap, thank you, sir. So GP Trap got me a gift. He got me a rockin' Batman. So now we got a rockin' Spider-Man because he knows I'm a Spider-Man guy. So he got me a pop. So I've got like this collection now. I've got my Vader, right? Julio, was it Julio or no? No, it wasn't Julio. It was damn it. Who gave this to me now? Now I'm brain farting. Oh, damn it. I know I got the name like in the tip of my brain here, and it doesn't come out. I bought my Tua, by the way. I added a Tua pop, as you all know. You know, GP gave me the original Batman rocker. So he gave me the Batman, and now he gave me the Spider-Man. And then, of course, I've got the man, the Merino. There you go. Ray, it was Ray. Thank you, Ray. Yes, it was you. Ray gave them to me. Ray gave me a bunch of these. And there you go. There's my old high school vehicle. I always keep that. I always keep this picture. Look how old it is. Eckerd's Ultra Lab. That's how old. This is my favorite car of all time. Right there. 280ZX, 1983. It's my favorite car of all time. They don't make the inline six anymore, baby. But see, now I can't cover up Jose. So I gotta come up with a way of displaying all these pops. But I can't cover up Jose. So I've got to find a way to display Jose Fernandez. But for now, I got to stack them over here for a moment and then figure things out. You guys are giving me too many gifts now. Okay. This is definitely cherished right here, brother. Mike Schmidt. Ooh, baby. Thank you all out there. Jay Fiedler thanks you. Oh, wait a minute. All right. So there you go. So GP Trap, thank you, sir. Appreciate you, man. That's very nice of you. Very nice of you. Andres says, sick caro. It was in those days. I don't know about now, but it was in those days. I loved the 280ZX for me is just, just one of those vehicles that it was just magical, man. It was a great, great car, great engine. I'm telling you, that inline six was the inline six. I've always said this, okay? And most of you aren't going to be able to even pick up on what I'm about to say, the comparisons, because if you notice this, 40 years ago, you're good, okay? Like 40 years ago, Nike came out with this sole called the gum sole, okay? And they never came out with it again, right? I bought it at the Athlete's Foot in Coral Gables, and the sole lasted forever. They eliminated those shoes. I think Nike eliminated those shoes a long time ago because that sole was so good. It lasted so long. They're like, no, man, we need them to buy shoes more often. One of those deals. And I think that's why they eliminated the inline six. Because that engine, kind of like the bug engine, you can't kill the engine. And, Dotson probably said, yeah, no, we got to eliminate that. That thing will last forever. No, we're not doing that. So there you go. No, I didn't have the turbo. The turbo was a pain in the ass in those days. The turbo wasn't nearly as reliable, let's just put it that way, than the regular engine. You know what I mean? So it moved well without the turbo. I love that car. Oh, that's right. You're right about that. I didn't turn on the tower. You are correct. What's going on with my tower? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. My tower ain't responding. The cable's not good. How about that? Right when you guys mentioned it, the cable's not good. It sucks. Let's see, what else do we have on the text line here? Big O, hit me with the top 5 favorite movies at time when it's on TV. You can just let it ride, or just a tradition in your life that you watch every year. Love to hear it. Top 5 favorite movies. Oh man, that's so hard to think of. Star Wars is definitely one of those. There's like no doubt about it. Star Wars is right there as my number 1 movie. Oh God. Animal House, Old School, Goodfellas. God. There's just too many. I don't even know if I can go 5. It would be to try to minimize it to 5. Godfather I love too. Scarface. Wow. I can watch that in a loop. There's so many to think of. You know what I mean? There's just a ton that I would just stop and watch. Carlos says the engines inside the Corollas are the same. 500,000 miles is nothing for a Corolla. Yeah, those I'm telling you, those old inline 6s were just beastly, bro. I watch White Christmas at least 3 times every year. Big O, gotta have a Monty. Yes, definitely Monty Python and the Holy Grail, man. Definitely. Life of Brian I like also, but Holy Grail right up there. Yes, that's another great one. That's the problem, man. I'm 55. There's just too many over the years that I've watched that I love to watch. I can see Stripes all the time, no matter what. You know what I mean? So that may not be one of those all-time greats, but I enjoy watching it all the time. It doesn't matter. Saturday Night Fever, definitely. Big Trouble in Little China. I can watch it. I don't know if I call it one of my favorites, but I can watch it. Rocky for sure. I can watch the first few Rockies, man. I love the first 4, actually. But obviously, number 1 is the best. Jaws for sure, every time. Shawshank for sure. It's a good one, man. Yeah, it's just so hard to pick 5 when you've lived so long. Checking in from Spokane. Oh, love the show. Thank you, Daniel. Always love when you guys put where you're checking in from. Porky's too? Definitely. Can we call it a tallywhacker? Penis is so personal. Yeah, definitely. Remember the Titans? Yes. I can always watch Remember the Titans up until the kid gets paralyzed. Then I fast forward a little bit. I hate that part. It's like watching Top Gun. I love Top Gun, but I don't want to watch Goose die. I hate that Goose dies in Top Gun. It makes no sense. I don't want Goose to die in Top Gun. That's like Opie in Sons of Anarchy. Killed me when they had to sacrifice Opie. That was wrong on every level there in Sons of Anarchy. By the way, love Sons of Anarchy. That was such a great show. Oh, I stop and I watch that all the time. Sons of Anarchy. If I can run into The Shield, I would. Spartacus, some of those kind of shows I like. Pulp Fiction, always. Rambo, yes. Up in Smoke, yes. Too many, man. It's too many. Way too many. That's the problem. Anyway, so Panthers, great win last night, 6-2 against the Flames. Started off a little tight, right? Even trailing 2-1 to Calgary early on, and then the boys came back and just we got a little horny yesterday. Paul Hornquist with 2 goals yesterday. Montour had 3 assists yesterday. Bob save after save yesterday. That was amazing, okay? 47 saves yesterday. Yeah, even the other goalie had some nice saves too at times, but, Montembeault had to, obviously, in the end, give up a few goals. But Bob was just phenomenal yesterday, man, several times. Tomorrow, they take on the Dallas Stars at 8:30, so they'll hit the road, and the 22-7-4 Cats. So impressive, the kind of season that they're having. I mean, and I'm happy for the franchise. And I know, look, kind of like what I know what's going to happen with the Dolphins in a way, that if they keep flow, I know what's going to happen. Then everybody gets cleared out next year. I kind of know. Same thing here. This is what's going to happen. Oh, speaking of flow. Let's go.
Obviously this past offseason, you guys extended Jason Sanders and then Jerome Baker during the summer. And then basically you ran out of cap space as far as any other potential extensions. So Mike Gesicki will be an unrestricted free agent, as you know. Is it your hope that Gesicki is re-signed and returns to the team next season?
Those are conversations more for next week. Right now we're focused on the Patriots. It's a tough team, really good in all 3 phases, well coached. And that's kind of where the focus is today, for me and the team. Obviously we're working on the early down, and obviously some things in the kicking game. And that's really where the focus is, Barry.
Thanks.
Daniel?
Good morning, Brian. I know the focus is solely on, the Patriots, but Jalen has an opportunity to not only pass 1,000 yards, but break Anquan Boldin's rookie reception record. I was curious as a young receiver, what's the next step for him? Not only kind of maintain the consistency that we've seen this season, but have a greater impact on games moving forward.
I think Jalen's done a good job. He's gotten better every day. He works hard. It's important to him. He's tried to just learn more about the position, learn more about defenses, learn more about matchups, and he's really gotten better every week. So, I think his focus and our focus isn't on.
What's the next step for him to not only kind of maintain the consistency that we've seen this season, but have a greater impact on games moving forward?
I think Jalen's done a good job. He's gotten better every day. He works hard on here. Brett, I guess we'll just move on to the next question. Brett, you on there?
Yeah, sorry about that. We'll go ahead and go to David.
Hey, Coach. Sorry, I don't know if I lost you there for a second or lost the connection too. But to follow up on Jalen Waddle, is it something where you would want to get the record out of the way early, so then late in the game you could just focus on making plays to win?
I think the focus will be trying to move the ball against a good defense. And whoever that is, if it's Jalen, it's Jalen. If it's Mike Gesicki, it's Mike Gesicki. If we're running it, we're running it. Run, play action, screen. It's really to move it effectively and efficiently against a very good defense. So yeah, I mean that's kind of where our focus is, and trying to put together a solid game in all 3 phases.
And anyone you won't expect at practice either today or this week?
No, I think we're really expect everyone. And a couple of guys will be coming off of the COVID list, so we'll just kind of see what that looks like. But yeah, expect everyone.
Hi, Brian. Following up on that, what was the final determination on Malcolm Brown and whether he'll be coming off IR or staying on there?
He'll be staying on IR.
Brian, I know you don't want to address contractual things until next week. So regarding Agba, how about if I ask you this way? How do you assess his season as a whole? The one of the main aspects of his contributions, I would think, is his ability to bat down passes. Is that something you really stressed going into the season? Was it something that maybe surprised you to any extent? Just if you could describe what you've seen from him.
I mean, I would say one of his best attributes is his leadership, is the way he works, the way he comes to work every day, how important the game is to him, how he supports his teammates, and then his play on the field has been very good as well. So the batted passes, the pressures, how he plays in the run game, I think all of that is. I think he's played well really across the board, and we need another performance, good performance from him this week against a good opponent.
Jim McBride.
Hi, Coach. I'm wondering, I know it's been since September since you've seen Mac Jones live, but I'm wondering, watching the crossover tape, what you've seen from him this season.
I think he's done a very nice job. Good command of the offense, poise, good decision making, and really, I think as an entire offense, I think it's complementary to the skill set of each individual player. Run game, pass game. I think Josh has done a great job of kind of putting those guys in good position, to have success. And they've obviously Max at the helm, and they've done a nice job.
Thank you,
Joe.
Well, I wanted to ask you about Xavier Howard. How important do you think his play has been to the team's overall success on defense?
Oh, very important. I mean, I think X has played very well this year. Oftentimes we we'll say, "Hey, X, you cover that guy," and it allows us to do a lot of different things defensively with his ability to cover guys one-on-one, and I think he's done a nice job.
Thanks.
Bob Sochi.
Good morning, Brian.
Hey, Bob.
Brian, I want to ask you about the Patriots defense, what you've seen of the characteristics of them overall this season. And along those lines, too, having coached Dante Hightower and Devin McCourty and now scouted them on tape, can you give us an appreciation or an understanding of their importance, their value to changing from week to week what the Patriots do defensively?
Well, I think as a defense, it's tough, it's physical, good situationally. Those guys in the secondary do a good job. I mean, every catch is contested. But specific to High and Devin, obviously I've got a relationship with both guys. A lot of great respect for both of them as players, but more so as people. It's been it's good to watch them kind of continue to grow, continue to lead. They're both very multiple. They do different things. Allow that defense to be multiple. So they do a good job as leaders on that team, and overall they've done a nice job defensively.
All right, thanks, Brian.
Travis.
Hey, good morning, Coach. Your opponent on Sunday has traditionally improved throughout the course of the season. You got a chance to see these guys back in September and now preparing for them here in January. Where have you seen the Patriots' biggest strides from week 1 to week 18?
I think they've really improved in every area. Offense, defense, special teams. I think they've dealt with injuries like every team, and other guys have stepped up. And I think they've, I think there's some things that are just, standard operating procedure there. The guys play tough, they play physical, they play discipline. They do a nice job overall.
Daniel?
Hey Brian, I wanted to ask if you have talked to Tua, or if not, I guess what would the message be to Tua after a game in which he kind of struggled a little bit, and it's the last game of the season. You're trying to end the season on a good note. What is your message to him and kind of rebounding from last week's performance?
I mean, it's we move on to the next play. Take it one play at a time, one day at a time. Make the corrections, improve, and go out there and put your best foot forward. And that's the case for him and every player. And that would be my message to anyone who's dealt with a little adversity.
Yeah, and kind of big picture as a whole, coming off of a disappointing result and disappointing outing, I guess, where do you strike that balance in terms of, especially going into the last game of the season, where do you strike that balance in terms of saying, hey, this is what we have to fix, but also saying, hey, maybe there were some good positive things to kind of take out from that game?
I think you always do that, win or loss. There's always some things that you wish you could have done better, some things you can improve on, and you continue to make those coaching points. This was good. Let's continue to do that. This wasn't so good. Let's improve in whatever area it is, offensively, defensively, or in the kicking game, or from a coaching standpoint. That's really the message every week. And I think our guys take to that and, try to make the improvements. And I'm hopeful we'll see that in practice today.
Thank you.
Barry?
Brian, Rob Hunt has really seemed to play well at right guard. How would you assess how he's done? And I was curious, was it tempting for you and Lem at any point this year to move him to right tackle? Was that a move that you ever were on the brink of making?
No, I think he's kind of found a home there at right guard, and I think he played well, so didn't want to change that or move him. So I think he's done some good things. I think he's still again a young player who's getting better every time he goes out there. I think he's making improvements really on a weekly basis, get more comfortable with his communication and just understanding how tough physical it is in there for at that position. And I think he's done a lot of nice things.
And one other offensive line question with Liam. Obviously, you've seen him going back to the offseason at multiple different spots. Do you have a feel yet whether he's best left tackle, right tackle, guard? Do you have a sense of that 8 months into this relationship?
I think it's probably still too early to say, hey, he's this, that, or make a definitive. I'll give you a definitive answer on that. I think Liam's a good young player, good young prospect. I think he does really everything. From a preparation standpoint, from a work ethic standpoint, he'll give himself an opportunity to, get the most out of his ability. I think that I'm pretty confident that he'll get the most out of his ability and be a dependable, reliable player for us. Where that is, that's yet to be determined. I think he's played, obviously a few different spots for us this year, primarily at left tackle. I think he's done I've been pleased with a lot of the things he's done there. Obviously, there's room for growth and improvement, but that's the case with any player. So I think we got an opportunity this week to continue to improve, to continue to make the corrections. Look, he's a young player, and we're excited to work with him.
Thanks.
We'll take two more, Joe Shad and then Chris Ryan. Go ahead, Joe.
Flo, how do you view the meaning in potentially finishing, 2 straight seasons with a winning record with a win on Sunday?
I guess I really haven't thought about that too much. Just really kind of focused on, this team this week. Look, it's a tough opponent. So, whether it's offensively, they pose issues, defensively, obviously they do a nice job there. Same thing in the kicking game. It's going to take a great effort by us, a great week of preparation, and to get the result we're looking for. I think that would be great for our team, but it's going to take a lot of hard work.
All right, last one, Chris.
Hey, good morning, Brian. obviously Bill Belichick's been talked about a lot and his attributes have been mentioned, but I'm interested, are there any particular attributes or leadership style that he has that is under discussed in your view, and maybe that gained, more meaning to you now that you're a head coach as compared to when you were working under him?
I mean, I think Bill is consistency is I think that's something that maybe people don't talk about. I haven't been in that building. I think that's something that you see on a day in, day out basis. As far as how the approach, the day-to-day approach, he expects from players, coaches, everyone in the building, and that's you hear the same message really on a daily basis. I haven't been. This is, it's been a while since I've been out there now, out of there. So, I've certainly, probably, grown more of an appreciation for my time there and the things I learned, with more time being there. I think a lot of those things, I try to apply, here on a day-to-day basis. So, Bill's a great coach. But I would say consistency in messaging and is probably the one thing that isn't talked about enough.
Thanks, appreciate it.
All right, thanks everybody. Thanks.
There he is, the head coach. He didn't want to talk a lot about the future. Although you notice he was very complimentary and everything about, Patriots. You never know when you need another job. Anyway, so, just want to just throw that out there, you never know. But, yeah, asked him about Gesicki. Will he be here? Well, that's a question for next week, and you really think about it, and I get it because he doesn't want to open himself up for that. But if you were a real Gesicki fan, it's like, hey, listen, we'll talk about that next week, but obviously Mike has got to be a guy in our future. Not his future, but, it's different. That's where I think there is a issue, because when you don't play Gesicki as much as you should, there's an issue. When you're not playing Matt Collins the way you should, there's an issue. When you were hesitant with Tua, there's an issue. So there are things, and I keep telling you, it's not jiving like what people say when they, oh no, this relationship is great. I'm not, it might have been, but I'm not sure it is nowadays. Just you look at the things that go on, and that part I don't even need to hear from the building. It's just pretty obvious on what's going on with him. But very, very complimentary there on everything going on. Looks like Malcolm Brown will stay on the IR. Like, wow. Like, yeah, we really needed to see Malcolm Brown today, this week. Like, I was going to feel so much better if Malcolm Brown played this week against the Patriots. How about just giving Duke Johnson the ball a lot more this week? It went 7 for 49 last week, which that tells me what happens if you give it to him 7 more times. Do you have shorter third downs? I'm not sure, but you're a terrible offensive staff, so we get what we get, unfortunately, with this staff. You know what I'm saying? So no question, no answers on the future. Malcolm Brown on the IR, and very complimentary towards the Patriot players and quarterback and team and everything else, just in case. Remember how John Gruden used to do Monday Night Football? That he really never ripped the ownership groups or the coaches or that really. He always kind of treaded, water in that area. Why? Because he was always planning to come back at one point or another. So he didn't want to burn any bridge. So nice job by Flo keeping those avenues open so he can actually, do his thing maybe in the future. With, they all of Bill's kids run back to him. You know what I'm saying? They leave, they fail. It's kind of like you're a parent, right? And your child, all of a sudden, they're 18, 20, and, you've been battling with them. Thank the Lord I never had that kind of kid, but it happens. I'm sure it's happened to some of you that are looking at me right now or listening. And you've been battling with this child of yours that wanted to be independent since they were like 13. And finally, you know, they're 18, 19, 20, and they get their first job and they think they're ready to go out and go get an apartment, right? You know that kid. You've been that kid. You know what I'm saying? Well, you've made that mistake and you move out and then you realize, whoa, it's rent, it's electricity, it's insurance, it's gas, it's car insurance, it's parking, it's this, it's that. Oh my God, I don't have enough money. And they end up running back to mom and dad because they failed their first go around leaving the nest. You know what I'm saying? So that's been Matt Patricia. You leave the nest, you fail, you go back. You know, that's what's the other guy? Josh McDaniels. You leave the nest, you go back, you know. So it's the same thing. Another little birdie left the nest, really doesn't know how to handle life on his own or her own. And then, you know, the little birdie / child has to stick their tail between their legs and go back to mom and dad. Say, Mom, Dad, I effed up. I wasn't prepared. No problem, son. No problem. Well, most of us that care about our kids, we take them back and we kind of smile, not in front of them, but we look at each other, you know, mom and dad looks at each other like, yeah, we knew this was coming, you know, that kind of stuff. There's a couple of parents right now watching going, you know, I lived that. I lived that with my son. I lived that with my daughter. I love them, but yeah, they thought it was that easy to go out in the real world on their own. I love it. There you go. Fire Greer. There we go. Sure, we'll get that every single day. We're so hurt, Malcolm Brown. Oh, no, he's our star. Ron G says, Omar out here asking the questions that expose how bad this coaching staff really is. You know, what can I tell you? Kyle N says, I rented to a young guy once. I said to him, you owe me for the phone bill. He says, I paid you for that last month. He didn't know it's a monthly thing. I mean, come on, man. It happens. It's normal. There's nothing wrong with it. No parent is at fault for it happening. It just happens, unfortunately. You got that kid that's overzealous and thinks that they can be on their own and they have no idea what the real world is like. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, kids nowadays don't even know what it's like to really like grind every day and have a job and all that. Did you see, you know, not to get a little bit off the beaten track too much on sports, because you know, obviously we dabble in other directions at times, right? But this is, and I envy these people. I do, because I don't know how you do this. I really don't. But I don't know if you guys realize this, but a record 4.5 million Americans voluntarily left their jobs in November, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The quit rate at 3%, matching the high from September. Workers were most likely to quit their jobs in hospitality, which had by far the highest quit rate at 6.1% in November, as well as those in healthcare. And the numbers in transportation, warehousing, and utilities also increased. Workers continue to quit their jobs at a historic rate. The low-wage sectors directly impacted by the pandemic continue to be the source of much of the elevated quitting, says Nick Bunker, Director of Research and Indeed Hiring Lab email comments. The big question for 2022, whether this dynamic will persist. The high quit rates is a symptom of the tight labor market, where workers can quickly find a new and potentially better job. That's a lot of people quitting work. You know what I mean? Although I will say this, those of you that quit work, and first of all, I hope you had another job, because I know this, you know, our president gives away money like it's monopoly money, which is just terrible, but whatever. I just hope that you're quitting for happiness. And I think that's what's happening. I think that's what I told my daughter this years ago, because when she's like studying and she's a maniac and she's awesome and she's, you know, got a 5.1 GPA and all that stuff. and what she wants to, and early in her life, she was thinking of money. And I told her, don't think of money. I said, the money will come no matter what you do in life. Okay. You can be great at barbecue and you can create a store, multiple food trucks, whatever it is. There's ways to become great at that. You know, you can become great at anything that you want to be great at. And the money will eventually come and you can make a living and all that kind of stuff. But, when you're young, you're just thinking of money and being rich and all that kind of stuff. And I always told her, be happy. Do what you want to do. You know what I mean? Because she always points to me and goes, why are you always happy about work, no matter how many of the crap things happen? I go, well, because I love what I do. And, she saw me go through the whole leaving from 560 to 640 and then the 640 back to 560 and then, all that crap that's gone on in my life. And so she's like, it's not a fun business. I go, no, the business sucks, but I love doing what I do. And so then that's why we, created this platform now, and started this because I love what I do, but I don't want to deal with the BS. So I get people quitting. And I totally understand that. And that's what I would tell anybody, man. Do what you love. I know it's really hard, and I know 95% of the world goes to a job they hate, but if you get a shot, do something that at least you're enjoying. So that way it doesn't feel so much like work every single day, even though it is. You know what I mean? This job that I'm doing is 24/7. The only time I'm not working is when I'm sleeping. But if I'm not on the air, I'm preparing for the next show. I'm talking to a sponsor. I'm talking to Sean. I'm talking to our promotions guy. I'm talking, it doesn't matter. It's like I'm working on something different every moment. You know what I mean? I'm posting something on social media. I'm answering something on social media. I'm answering an email. It doesn't stop. I don't stop, but I enjoy it. I love it, even though it's a 24/7 grind pretty much. But I enjoy it. And that's my suggestion. And I would hope that, I saw that number, 4.5 million people quitting their jobs. It's like, wow. And I know, listen, there's a lot of us that are unhappy with what we do. I've been very unhappy with the people I've had to work for. Outside of Sirius and Beasley, those are the only two companies that I enjoyed James Crystal. I thought they were really good people. They had a difficult financial situation. Jim Hilliard had a difficult, but he was through it all, through the whole chapter 11, he was in complete contact with me on everything and assured me of everything, even through chapter 11 and everything. Hey, we're taking care of you. We're taking care of you. Don't worry. Don't worry. And sure enough, he kept his word. He kept his word. And to that, I will always have immense respect for Jim Hilliard because he treated me like a human being. And that to me was important. Even look, man, things can be crappy. None of us are perfect. You know what I mean? Joe Bell, who I would work for at any day of the week and twice on Sundays, a great man. He made a mistake and put a sales guy in charge of the programming, and that idiot effed up everything because he doesn't know radio if it bit him in the ass, and that was a mistake Joe made, and that was kind of pushing me out because the guy wanted jocks on the air, which he doesn't know that like less than 2% of the jocks that come out of sports can actually do this job. You know what I mean? Come on. Jocks aren't made for this, dude. They're not made for this kind of grind. They might know their one sport, but you're not going to get them to become full-fledged, complete talk show hosts. No shot. But he's an idiot and whatever. And so that I ended up leaving. And then they brought me back. Joe brought me back and even apologized for everything. So, see, I've had bad moments but I can still look at that moment and say, okay, look, man, we're all human beings. Nothing's perfect. I lost a job once because an owner had a divorce. So he had to liquefy the station. He had to sell it because the woman wanted half the money. So then by selling the station, he eliminated the station and everybody had to go find another job. This is a really bad business, dude. I mean, chapter 11s, divorces, conglomerate sales. I mean, all kinds of things affect what you do. And none of it was my performance. That's the screwed up part. It had nothing to do with performance, had nothing to do with ratings, had nothing to do with sponsors, had nothing to do with listenership. That was all there. So then what the hell did you hire me for? Stability, I'm there. I'm reliable as hell. I'm always there. I don't know. What else do you want from me? I have no idea. You know? So it's a weird business, man. It's a weird business. So try to find something that makes you happy. That's what I would say. All right. Let's go to hour number 2. Before we go to hour number 2, let's tell you about the great people you see right there. Sloman's Home Security, and they are expanding with us here on the show, by the way. And 1-800-ALARM-ME. It's an easy number to remember, and it's an incredibly important number because your family's important. I know my family's important. I know my pets are important. My dogs, you know, it's about protecting my girls and protecting my dogs and protecting my home. That's why I use Sloman's Home Security. You should use it too, to protect your home, protect your business, protect the things that we love, the things that we work hard for. You know what I'm saying? And that's why right now we're going to give you a free doorbell camera. That's right. The first 40 Big O listeners, 1-800-ALARM-ME. That's 1-800-ALARM-ME. You will get a free doorbell camera. And the first 40 Big O listeners, for a limited time, will get this free doorbell camera that connects directly to your smartphone with the installation of your Sloman Shield. Now, that's not all you're going to get, all right? You're going to get a free customized home security system and professional installation when you use their low-cost central station monitoring. So you're getting an LED touchscreen, pad, a motion detector, 3 arm doors, and a backup battery. All you got to do, folks, is call 1-800-ALARM-ME. Please mention the Big O Radio Show. 1-800-ALARM-ME. Hour number 2 is next.
This is the Big O Show.
Sports fans love a place with great food, cold drinks, and TVs everywhere. That's why sports fans love Sports Grill and their 7 amazing locations. Check out the Bird Road location at 11481 Southwest 40th Street in the back corner of the West Bird Shopping Center. Sports Grill is also now offering some great employment opportunities. All kinds of positions are now available, from kitchen to hosting. Call for more information at 305-485-8845. From wraps to salads to amazingly delicious specialty dishes, Sports Grill is the home to the legendary special grilled wings. Since 1987, Sports Grill, good food, good drink, and good friends.
It's the Big O Show. You're tuned in to the hottest sports radio.
When you need your warehouse looking good while staying efficient, there's only one place to find the finest racks in the business. Pallet Rack City in Hialeah. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. Pallet Rack City is the company you need when you want your warehouse sporting the finest racks in the business. After all, who doesn't love a great rack? Pallet Rack City. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547.
Orlando, a.k.a. the Big O. He covers all the South Florida teams.
For over 16 years, EJDconstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDconstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDconstruction.com.
Dolphins to the Heat, well, you know what I mean. Monday to Friday, Scotty Pablo in the...
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
Stop South Florida's premier law enforcement agency is now hiring individuals like you. The Fort Lauderdale Police Department is now accepting applications for non-certified and certified police officer positions. Minimum requirements and qualifications can be found at flpdjobs.com. That's flpdjobs.com. Are you ready? The city of Fort Lauderdale is an equal opportunity employer. When protecting your family is your priority, there's nothing more important than a roof above the people you love. Call Tommy B. Butts Jr. Enterprises.com, 954-735-9826 or 954-394-1411 and ask to speak to Tommy, the owner. They specialize in all kinds of roofs, led by their highly crafted, skilled, and professional roof mechanics. All of their previous customers have an opportunity to enter their bi-weekly drawings to receive free an exterior impact metal door. Please call for more details. That's Tommy B. Butts Jr. Enterprises.com, 954-735-9826 or 954-394-1411. Trust Tommy to fortify and protect what's most important to you, your family. The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyAccess.com, Media Group Inc., ownership, management, sponsors, or website. When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
All righty, we back, baby. Hour number 2 of the program. So much to talk about. At the top of the next hour will be the Pallet Rack City Inside the Paint show, as the boys will be talking all things Miami Heat and NBA, any of the big stories, and obviously there's lots of things to talk about with the Miami Heat. I mean, so many great storylines with the Heat. It's really a beautiful thing to watch what's going on with the Miami Heat, man. I love it, man. Watching these young players develop, watching Caleb Martin, Max Strus, I believe, is back now. Gabe Vincent is, I think, coming back. Also, Yurtseven has been incredible as a rebounder. So tonight I'll be watching. I'll probably be. The bags will be even bigger tomorrow morning at Hialeah Park. And by the way, we will be at Hialeah Park Casino tomorrow in the second floor poker room from 10 to 1. So please come on by and say hi, man. Would love to see all of you out there, all right? Be fantastic. Tonight, the Miami Hurricanes are back in action, taking on the Cuse at 8 o'clock. They're 11-3, 3-0 in the ACC. It's just, Jim Larrañaga is just, he's a fantastic coach. It's just now I just have lost so much interest in college basketball. And then, dare I say, I'm so sorry to say this, but I've lost a lot of respect for that sport. To me, it's not the sport it used to be. It's just a hair above high school is what we're watching. There are no more stars anymore. The level of play is a much lower level of play. I'm sorry, man. When I get to watch Clyde Drexler and Hakeem Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing and Michael Jordan and all these guys that I get to watch for 3 or 4 years play, I'm sorry, dude. None of this can ever compare. Their stars are coming out of high school and they're going to the G League or they're going overseas. They're going for the money right away. We went from the stars playing for 1 year, which is already weak as it is, to now they're not even going to college anymore. And so it's such a lower level of basketball. I don't get to watch Grant Hill for 3-4 years. I don't get to watch Duke against UNLV in back-to-back years like a nasty-ass rivalry. It was like a semi-professional basketball game. Okay? That's what it was. Hill, Hurley, Leitner taking on Johnson, Avery John. No, not Avery. Yeah, it was Avery Johnson was the plastic man, right? Larry Johnson, George Ackles, and what was the name of the little guard? Anderson Hunt. How about that? Anyway, so, That's what I'm talking about. Okay? That kind of stuff. I don't see that anymore. That was college basketball. And that's the part that I'll be brutally honest, man. It's like I know the Canes are doing well, but it's just like, oh, it's nice. That's kind of the way I look at it. Oh, it's cute. Oh, it's nice. It's high school basketball. Oh, it's nice. It's not. I'm sorry, dude. It's not Georgetown Villanova. It's just not, man. And that's really my problem with college basketball now. And the Canes have a nice team, but what's the competition? What are you beating? You're not beating anything special because you're nothing special. Because there's nothing special about college basketball anymore. There isn't anything special. No stars. When I get to see Kenny Anderson, Brian Oliver, and what was the three-point shooter now that went to the Magic? What's his name? Brian Oliver, Kenny Anderson, and oh God. But I know I'm going to watch those guys for 3 to 4 years. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment as a fan. I get to watch those 3 guys run for 3. And I'm not a Georgia Tech fan. I don't give a crap about Georgia Tech, but I'm a basketball fan. Dennis Scott, thank you. I knew somebody would chime in with it. Thank you. That was fun watching that. Watching Gabe Corciani, Rodney McRow, right? Was it something like that? Right? Was it something like that? It was Rodney something. And who was the big guy? Charles Shackelford. Remember that NC State team? That was a damn good team. But you don't see anything like that anymore. Notice that I can name teams all over the history of basketball and name the players because they left an impact. Because they were a hell of a team. And they were going up against other great teams. Because Boeheim was rolling them out. You name it. From Sherman Douglas to Rowe to Cycli to Owens, they were loaded. Yeah, it's a shame, man. It's a shame. It's really college basketball has completely changed. And that's where, like tonight, if our game with the Heat doesn't start till late, so this one will start at 8, and I'll watch it half-ass. You know what I'm going to be doing? I swear to you, I'll have the UM game on because I will watch it. Because Isaiah Wong is fun to watch, by the way. Yeah, I know the players. McGusty, I know them all. I follow it. I watch it, but it just does nothing for me. And I know what's going to be happening. I'm going to be watching half-ass with one eye, and then I'm going to have my iPad in my hand, and I'm going to be reading about crypto. And I'll be searching and trying to find stuff. That's what I'm going to be doing. I know it. I know it because it just really doesn't excite me. And I watch it because just in case somebody wants to talk about it, that way I know what the hell to talk about. You know what I mean? But excitement, nah, it does nothing for me, dude. Nothing for me. It's a shame. And Isaiah Wong is fun to watch. I do like watching him play. I will say that. Watto and Gesicki suck now. What kind of conversations are you guys having on the chat board? I just look randomly and whatever it focuses at first, boom, that's it. And it's like Tuttle Army. Let's see. She usually has common sense. Ross is going after his boy Jim Harbaugh and Stephen Ross and Deshaun Watson. Well, let's address that, Tuttle, since that is one of the elephants in the room today that we were going to talk about. And let's talk a little bit about Jim Harbaugh because now there's an article out. And for those of you that didn't check it out, because, Tuttle brought it up, so I will address it. So apparently the coach is looking possibly for another job, or it could be interested in working again in the NFL. So the question is, will the Miami Dolphins go after Jim Harbaugh? Should the Miami Dolphins go after Jim Harbaugh is the question. Look, I've spoken my piece on this. I'm not a Jim Harbaugh believer in any way, stretch, or form. And I know people go back to San Francisco, and I will tell you that they had two of the best GMs in all of football, and those teams were so freaking loaded that I think most coaches would go really far with those teams. Those Niner teams, let me tell you something. Those Niner teams probably should have won a title. Those were some of the most loaded teams in the last 20 years in the history of the NFL. Okay? You start looking at the top 10 teams in talent in the last 20 years, and that San Francisco team is one of them. I guarantee you that. Okay? And I know he did a decent job in San Francisco and Stanford. I know that too. But I haven't been impressed with him at Michigan. And I would not bring him here for the Miami Dolphins. I know Stephen Ross. I get it. That's his boy, all that stuff. So it's easy. It's elementary to put one and one together that Stephen Ross would go after him and all that. And I'm sure then Stephen has to have the conversation with Chris. Do you get along with Jim? Do you want to bring him in? Do you want to work with him? Yada, yada, yada. Will Jim Harbaugh get in the way of personnel also? Which, again, he has not earned the right to be a personnel guy. He has not even come close to what he's supposed to do at Michigan. He's just had one really good season, and that was this year, and he still choked like a dog in the playoffs. And after everybody, I remember watching the pregame show and watching Desmond Howard. Yeah, and it was so funny because they had one Michigan guy and a Georgia guy. And obviously they were both going to pick their own schools. You know what I mean? It was just so homerish. And listening to him talk about his team and how they were ready for this and all that, and they weren't in the end. They got their asses kicked. So for me, I want nothing to do with Jim Harbaugh. Nothing. Okay? He is no John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh looks calm, cool, and collective and intense. Jim Harbaugh looks erratic, inconsistent, goofy, and I have no idea sometimes where he's coming from. Okay? It's like he lives in a world of cliches. I like John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh is a lot like me. Okay? Like I put in that article or somebody sent to me and I said, they said, hey, man, I'm proud how you've bounced back and all that. And I said, well, there's no time to cry. There's no time to point fingers at people. There's no time to go in a corner and cower and start crying. It's get it done. It's turn around, figure out what you got to do in life and go after it. And that's how I am. That's how I've always been my entire life. When I started in radio, I was like, well, how am I going to learn to break stories if I'm stuck here? And the station wasn't going to pay. But then I had to use my own money to go to the Senior Bowl and the Combine and the East West and the Orlando Gridiron Classic and the Las Vegas Football Classic and all that stuff so I can get to learn and know NFL people and talk to them face to face. I knew that was the only way. I was going to get numbers. I was going to get information. And sure enough, that's how it happened. And why? Because you have to take the world by the balls. And to me, that's John Harbaugh. That's a tough guy. That's a guy that grinds. His team gets injured and all that, and they find a way to work hard. They took on a real challenge in Jackson, okay? Because he's not a good quarterback. He never will be a good quarterback, ever. Lamar Jackson will never be a good passer because he's not a passer. He's an athlete playing the quarterback position. But they had the determination of, okay, if we're going to do it this way, then we have to then run it this way. And that's exactly what they've done, and they're committed to it, and that's the way they're – I love that. Even though I disagree with it, and I think in the end, your team has to be so dominant in order to win with a guy so limited like that you can do it. It's not impossible, but you're going to have to be truly committed, and that's what John Harbaugh is. I'm sorry, Jim Harbaugh for me is a flake. That's what it seems like to me. Just not the same guy. And if you think you're getting the same guy, I think you're wrong. So, if they want to go after him, then I will definitely disagree with that one. Okay? Let's see. So there you go. That's to me is the whole Jim Harbaugh, storyline. I just would not be a fan of it. And it says what a difference makes. 12 months ago, Jim Harbaugh was coming off a 2-4 season, after which he took a sizable pay cut to remain the head coach of his alma mater. Fast forward a year later, and Harbaugh finally beat arch rival Ohio State, led Michigan to the first Big Ten title in 17 years, and won AP Coach of the Year honor. Now, The Athletic is hearing rumblings from both the NFL side and Michigan that Harbaugh might be tempted to leave the Wolverines to return to the NFL. I think it's real, said one source this week when asked about the possibility of Harbaugh being interested in heading back to the NFL. Now, here's the other thing. You just heard the early part of that. It said pay cut. So this all might just be that he really wants to stay in college, because I'll tell you this, I also think he's kind of a college guy, if anything. His goofiness is not something that you handle with men. I think his style wears out super fast with men. With kids, it doesn't matter because you're only there for 3-4 years anyway. So the message can't get old and stale that quick. So you're off and running, and you've got a new set of players and a new set of faces and all that stuff. So I think it's perfect. I don't think his personality is built for the NFL. I don't care that he played in the NFL. I don't care that they called him Captain Comeback. I watched him. Yeah, he was a mediocre to average quarterback at best in the NFL. But I'm sorry. To me, this is one where you pass. You pass. This is not the guy. Like I said, I'd rather go a Jim Caldwell, a Jack Del Rio type. I think those are the kind of coaches that will work with the front office, and they can build a staff. There's no doubt that they can build a staff. I mean, look, man, I don't want a coach from college that can't dominate college. Are we clear on that? So this is not a guy that dominates college. So if you're gonna take a guy from college, then get a guy that dominates from college. That's the chance I would take if I'm going to take a college coach. All right? And I know he's coached in the NFL and all that, but he hasn't dominated in college. I'm not doing it. And anybody can have a good season or two because he did it in San Francisco. All right? Wanstead had several good seasons. Doesn't make him a good coach. That's the problem with some of you out there. Oh, the 7-game winning streak. That doesn't mean anything. I always love when I hear, well, Flo kept the team together. Really? So did Sperano, right? And so did Adam Gase. So did all these other guys that had streaks also. Did that make them great coaches? No. It's just a cliche that one uses after another just to be lazy and not think for yourselves. Players won in spite of these clowns. And make no mistake, it's a clown show, that coaching staff. Mike Gesicki put a big top, makeup, and a red nose on Brian Flores in his press conference 2 days ago. Mike Gesicki was asked about, because remember, they were in dealing with the weather. And they knew that it was going to be bad weather, right? So here's the question. Was it David Furones, I believe? I'm not sure. Well, I'll be able to tell when I hear the voice. It was? Am I right? Oh, it was Omar? Okay, it was Omar Kelly that said it, okay? Watch Omar Kelly ask Mike Gesicki about preparation for the game against Tennessee.
Mike, I'm curious. I know you're going to say both teams played under the same conditions, but how much was the field and the weather and the elements a factor in today's game?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly it was a factor for both teams, but you know, I mean, it is what it is. Exactly like you said. You know, they had playing it too, so you can't point your finger at that. You know, being a deciding factor or anything like that.
In terms of it changing or altering the game plan, did you guys have like a rain game plan?
No.
No. And pick up on that. No. Anybody catch from Mike Gesicki caught the ball and ran to the side, caught it on the sidelines, and then he kind of tried to hand it to Flo, and Flo didn't even touch the ball and let it land on the floor? Go look at that play. Biggest load of crap that you hear people say is Flo keeping the team together. Biggest load of crap that they'll tell you is that they get along with that guy. It'll all come out, man. It'll all come out. You'll see. You'll see. It's just so you were going to a place that had weather issues and you had no weather plan. Dude, even Wanstead on those kind of days, do you know what Wanstead would do? He would grab the balls and dip them in buckets of water, and he'd have the quarterbacks play with wet balls. And they'd practice with wet balls. Wanstead's a better coach than Flo. Wanstead would actually keep the guys out in the rain. Now, I know, listen, maybe also it was a different era. We were still, you know, it was still a tough man's football game and practice. Practice now is kind of soft. You know what I mean? And so Wanstead picked up still where you would start the morning off with an inside drill. But I know that they would practice in the rain. Do you know why I know they would practice in the rain? Because my crazy ass would grab the umbrella because I had access to the entire field. I wasn't sitting in the stands. I had access to the entire field. With Jimmy and Wanstead, although the back end of Wanstead, they started limiting it because he became so paranoid, which we have nothing to do with why you're not getting it done, but whatever. But anyway, we had access to the whole field. So there were two fields, right? And I could walk all the way around that field. Not in the middle, but you could walk all the way around. So with my umbrella, and it's pouring rain, and they're out in the far left corner, you know, practicing inside drills or one-on-ones, I would walk all the way there and stand right there in the rain. Ask anybody. Like, you know, 90% of the beat writers wouldn't do what I would do, but that's different. I'm cut from a different cloth. I go to every extreme I can. It's kind of what I do. But, you know, it's one of those deals. So Wanstead, we keep them out there in the rain. No, guys, let's go. We're going to stay out here in the rain. We're going to Buffalo this week, and we might run into some rain. We're going to New England this week, guys, and we're going to run into rain. So it was smart. So there you go. Give you an example, because I watched it firsthand. Wanstead always had a plan for bad weather. Always. And it didn't matter what it was. And if he was going to a dome, he'd bring in speakers and he'd jam that crap. They bring in these giant speakers and you could hear it all over the damn Davie neighborhood. So he would try to create the environment that you were going to face. Which, by the way, I think it's a good job by a coach. So this guy had no plans for a wet situation. So, you know what? Tua may have played better with Wannstedt than with Flo. Why? Because he would have made Tua play with a wet ball that was dunked in water. And Tua then would have adjusted throughout the week because he had already played with a wet ball. That's how unimpressive Flo is that Wannstedt's better. Oh, Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. What can I tell you, right? Let's see. Tuttle says there's no more honest in South Florida media than Big O. Well, we try. We try to be as brutally honest as we can. Hook up Poop Art there, Sean. He just sent me a deal there. Hook him up. Goats of Loa says, Big O, I was paying attention to the weather forecast every day for this game, knowing it was important. How does the head coach of an NFL team not realize that? Listen, man, I'm the only one that's been saying for months in the local and national media that the real problem on this team is the coaching staff. It's obvious as hell that this guy is completely out of his element. And we have to stop some of us falling for the banana in the tailpipe, thinking that he is some amazing, force. John Russell, thank you, sir, for a little love on the super chat. Says, Big O, is this the year Zach Thomas makes the Hall of Fame? It's criminal if he's not in already. Well, I got to tell you, John, I am hoping, because since we just recently bought this when we went to the Hall of Fame, we went to the Hall of Fame when we went to the Genesis concert in Ohio, and I bought this one. I am hoping that I am forced to go to Canton and buy a second one and replace this one with the one with 54. He certainly deserves to be in there, my friend. Okay? I hope Zach gets in there because he truly deserves it, man. Okay? I think he's put up the kind of numbers that are Hall of Fame numbers, and they're comparable to other players. And I can even point at maybe a player or two that I would say, well, if they're in, I would put Zach in. You know what I mean? So, it's one of those where I know it's subjective. It's one of those things. It's how you see it, kind of like whether you think Tua can play or not, whether you think Flo can coach or not, whether you think Greer can draft or not, whether you think Ross should own or not. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. It's however we all want to look at it, But, John, I'm hoping, man. I'm hoping they see it the way a lot of us see it, that Zach was a pretty special player and he deserves to go to the Hall of Fame. It's not his fault that the team never got to his level. You know what I mean? And that happens to a lot of players in their game. All right, let's take a very quick break because we will return right now with our Sports Grill Miami Dolphins Insider Report with Alan Poupart.
Let's get ready to talk Dolphins football. It's the Sports Grill Miami Dolphins Report with Sports Illustrated's Alan Poupart. With locations throughout South Florida, Sports Grill is the home of the special grilled wings. Check out our sponsored locations in Miami on Bird Road and 114th and in Miami Lakes in the Royal Oaks Plaza. Here's Miami Dolphins insider Alan Poupart.
Is the man, the myth, the legend that is Alan Poupart. How you doing, baby? You doing all right?
Yep, doing great. Yourself?
I cannot complain. Just kind of I guess getting through this final week, and then we can start talking. The good thing, by the way, with you is that you're a draftnik, so you and I are going to have a lot of draft talk over the off season because unlike the garbage local radio that you have here, all of our guys are year round. It's not a in season thing and all that. No. Insiders will be here all year because football is all year. So and everything goes well, then Al and I will be doing shows together over in the combine. You know what I mean? So it's looking forward to all of this. And by the way, did you read the article from Barrett Sports Media?
But I did. Very nice. Very nice. Well done.
Very nice, and we appreciate the love. It's nice that nationally they notice what we're doing, not locally,
Yep.
but nationally, it's nice that they notice actually what we're doing here.
No, big time.
Yes, no, that's a good thing. All right, brother. So let's get into this now. You start feeling for what's going on with this team. What are you hearing on any talk of any kind of changes? And obviously, people are talking about either the head coach, the general manager, or both, or neither. So, what are you hearing?
Nothing yet. And it may be a case where we're never going to hear anything and it'll just be status quo.
It happens. Okay, or it happens.
No, that's correct. Yeah, that very well could happen like that. Other point I wanted to make is you're talking about like getting ready for the last week of the regular season. I'm used to this, but man, those weeks where you're getting ready for the last game and it doesn't mean anything, ooh, those are rough.
Yeah.
Especially this year when the Dolphins don't even benefit with a loss because Philly has their first round pick. So there's literally nothing to play for. Okay, having said that, here's the thing. There's so many ways to look at what Brian Flores did, and I know you're not a huge fan, but I'm sure you're aware they win Sunday. They will have consecutive winning seasons, and I know 9-8 is big whoop, but still, nobody's done that here since 2002, 2003.
But everybody else had 16 games, so he's cheating.
Correct. That's fair.
Well, so it's really not. It's not he's accomplishing something with an advantage. So it's really not an accomplishment.
Okay, correct. Okay, but
it's the guy that gets the home run record with 162 instead of 154.
Fair enough. Okay, but then you also can't overlook the fact that he brought the team back and nobody quit on him. And even though they got smoked by Tennessee, it wasn't an issue of the players.
Aren't we tired of that already? Aren't we tired of that? They didn't quit on
but again,
they didn't quit on Gase. They didn't quit on Sperano. None of that meant anything.
But no, they quit on Gase. That's here's the thing, and that's part of the reason.
One year they didn't, right?
No, but then last year they did, and he was gone after the season. Now here's the thing.
No, I get it, but he started 1-4, then went 9-2, which is better than anything.
Correct. That was his first year. And he finished 10-6, which was the exact record that the Dolphins had last year.
Okay, but if he's so great, he lost them the following year. That's my point. It means nothing. That's my point.
I know, I understand that. Here's the other point. Look at the pattern that's been established since he's been owner. Steve Ross has had the following head coaches, and the pattern. Tony Sperano was fired during his fourth year. Joe Philbin fired during his fourth year. Adam Gase is the only one who didn't get a fourth year. So if you go by a pattern, and again, in the case of Adam Gase, he lost his players at the end of that third year.
Yep.
Okay. And there was a quote unquote star candidate because like him or not, at the time, Brian Flores was a very hot coaching commodity. Is there that kind of guy right now out there that Stephen Ross might look at and go, oh, well, that's a guy we have to go get it. I'm not so sure. So
but I don't want that. See, that's the difference between you and me. I want a Jim Caldwell, a Jack Del Rio.
I didn't say I wanted that.
Okay.
Don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say I wanted that. I said that was the deal. And now this year, there's not that guy. So it's very easy for me to say or to believe that, and yeah, absolutely, Brian Flores and Chris Greer will get another year. I absolutely could see that. And again, other than with Joe Philbin, the next to last game in 2014, when they beat Minnesota on a block punt in the final minute, when Stephen Ross went into the locker room, told the reporters, I'm going to give you an early Christmas present so you don't have to work so hard. Joe Philbin will be back next year. Since that time, there's never been any sort of public endorsement toward the end of a coach's season, and Brian Flores still has 2 years remaining on his contract. So to me, it's very possible that there'll be nothing said, nothing happens, and it's Flo and Greer coming back in 2022, which we're already 2022, but next season.
Well, I'm a huge fan of the front office. I believe in all three guys. And if they're watching, I just want you to know, Chris, Reggie, Marvin, you guys are terrific. You want to bring this guy back? You're all getting fired next year. Just want you to know, I've seen this story before, and I've watched it, and the screwed up part about the history of the Miami Dolphins is no head coach that's been fired has ever left and gone to have success at another pro team as a head coach. It's never happened. Yet, the last 3 personnel guys are all thriving with their new teams. Spielman, Ireland, and Hickey. All right? So, I keep reminding people, sometimes, you know what? Maybe we've been screwing up on the personnel side because those guys were actually young and good at their jobs. They just made their mistakes. And although Hickey, I think Hickey actually had 2 decent drafts, man. And he was really treated unfair. But anyway,
here's the problem.
I like our personnel, and I think the same thing's happening again. Coaching ain't jack shit. Personnel's fine, and coaching is what's getting in the way, but that's just me.
Okay, but the problem is then if you're separating the two, and here's the thing is my belief is that Flo and Greer, and I've said this many times, Flo and Greer are like this, that no personnel decision gets made without Flores' stamp of approval.
Right.
So
but I don't believe that relationship is like that anymore. Just so you'll know. I'm
not convinced of that. And if
I don't believe they're locked anymore. I don't believe that.
Well, I don't believe that. I'm not convinced that Chris Greer could fire Brian Flores without Stephen Ross's stamp. That it would come
You're
from
1,000% right, dude. Of
Okay.
course, you're right.
But here's the other thing. Also, if we're going to throw praise on the scouting department and the front office and the scouts and all that for the 2021 draft, which looks like an absolute home run right now, somebody's got to take the hit for 2020. Because you have a 5th overall pick, who is still a question mark. 18
I'm not
pick.
done with the quarterback. I'm not done with the quarterback. And
I said, but right now you can't say he's anything but a question mark.
Okay.
As the 5th overall pick,
That's
and
fine.
then your number 18 pick, right now
Done.
not looking good.
That one's bad. That one's
And
bad.
your number 30 pick has
I
been a
don't know.
bust.
I don't know.
And you left out, and you left, dude, it's 2 years in, and you left many running backs on the board when could not have been more glaring of a need.
You're conveniently leaving out Raekwon Davis and Brandon Jones. Just that's
for 2020. But I'm going to look. I'm going to look at the 3 first-round picks.
No, but don't say 2020 and then don't mention that there's 2 good picks already on there.
There's 3 good picks because Robbie Hunt's a good player.
Oh, I'm sorry, 3. So if you hit on Tua, I don't give a shit what happens with Iggy and Jackson, dude. They can kiss my ass. If you hit on my starting strong safety, you got me a starting defensive tackle. You got me a starting quarterback and a starting guard. I'm fine, dude. You got 4 players out of that draft. I'm fine. If you actually hit on Iggy, then it becomes a monster draft overall. Forget about Jackson. He looks like he's shot. Somebody's going to have to build his confidence back up again. I don't know if it can be done or whatever, but Iggy, I can't pass. Iggy and Hunter, I can't judge these guys until they literally play the game. And then I can find out.
It's been 2 years for Iggy. Okay,
Yes,
and I want to give the kid the benefit of the doubt. I want to give the benefit of the, and I understand they have 2 really good starters.
And they'll trade one of them this year. You'll see. They'll trade one of those dudes this year.
Well, they're not trading Byron Jones because he's not tradable with that contract. So
you know who's getting traded, bro.
Well, I know you think X is getting traded, but I think you're going to see that.
No, he's getting traded.
That defense with the way they are playing is not going to be as efficient without X on the thing. And I understand if Tua becomes a stud, a bona fide franchise quarterback, I'll let go of the Jackson and the Benagati trade. And if we mention Jackson, we have to mention the fact that he came at the cost of Minkah Fitzpatrick because Flo couldn't make it work. But that's obviously not.
And that's a great job by the front office to make up for. But that's a great job by the front office because Flo screws up the relationship. They lose leverage because they're forced to trade him, and then they replace them with a kid that might be just as good. That's pretty awesome. I mean, how many front offices?
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm not. Yeah, that's great.
How many front offices can be put in that terrible position and make up for it? Not a lot of them, man. I'm sorry. The Dolphins have drafted 2 of the best young safeties in the NFL in the last 5 to 10 years, bro.
Yep.
I mean, that's impressive, man. So that's why I'm not ready to give up. And dude, we killed Ireland, and I was wrong. And we killed Spielman, and I was wrong. I didn't kill Hickey, but the other 2 we killed. And they went on to be good people in their business, that they know what the hell they're doing. That's why I keep thinking we're making the same mistake over and over again. And I'd rather stay personnel and say, okay, guys, go get yourself another coach. And you
Except
need
if we want to keep throwing flowers at Ireland, this is where I'm going to bring up the other side. And he's also responsible for the worst draft pick in the history of the team, probably.
That's fine. Dude, you're not going to be perfect, my brother. You know, but hey,
Dude, I
Don
understand that.
Don Shula, Don Shula's
up to pick up a guy who's a complete, who's an absolute bust, and in so many ways. Starting with the fact, forget the fact that he didn't pan out. The fact that you draft him to play a different position than what he played. I mean, it's almost as bad as taking Jamar Fletcher over Drew Brees. When he played zone in college, and he becomes.
I get it. I get it.
Here.
I get it. Don Shula trades for Robin Senline, bro. I mean, and nobody's perfect, my man. Shit's gonna happen.
Neither is Brian Flores. Neither is Brian Flores.
Pat Riley is gonna sign Whiteside and Johnson and the other idiots, and they were stupid contracts. And he's still great. You're gonna have your brain fart moments. My point is, we overreacted on Ireland. We overreacted on Spielman, and even Hickey. And they have all gone on to have success, and they have been wanted by other people. None of the Miami head coaches have ever surfaced again as a head coach anywhere else. And right now, to me, it seems like it's the same thing over and over again. And in my eyes, obviously, it's Flo in the way of their front office. It's them signing Flowers and then Flo not wanting him. Flo wanting Kyle Van Noy and then not wanting him. Those are cap problems that he creates for the team, and offensive line problems. I'd rather have Eric Flowers at left guard for the whole season than Austin freaking Jackson. So he screwed the team with that. This week, Gesicki said they didn't have a game plan for the rain. Dude, you and I would stand there and watch trainers dip the ball in a water bucket for freaking Wanstead. So when he knew he was going to a crap place, his guys practice with a wet ball. They practice with a wet ball. You know, come on. You know, it's like these are things that, to me, this is a guy that's out of his element. And we have created this soap opera, and I was to blame for it, thinking that he was in tune with everything and all that. Those guys don't like him in that building. The players don't like him. The assistant coaches don't like him. He is a tough person to work for, dude. And if you're not getting the results, you're not going to be able to play that game that he's trying to play. So to me, that's what we're watching again. We're making the mistake that we're lumping everything together when I think the real problem is the coaching staff.
Okay, two quick points, if I may. Number one, I don't recall Rick Spielman taking a whole bunch of flack when he was here because it was Wanstead who had the final juice on personnel decisions, I believe, until the final year. So I don't recall that. I mean, that could be.
They lumped him in with both, but yeah, I see what you're saying. But remember, there was a power struggle that Rick had.
And I think the last year they removed the personnel authority from Wanstead, so it would be just that 1 year. Point number two, the whole Gesicki thing was toward the end of a very brief post-game session where he's pissed. The offense looked like shit, apparently. It's fair. Looked like absolute shit. And I don't. To me, it might have been just as much as like I'm not getting into this BS. So I'm going to say, because the question was very specifically, do you guys have an alternate game plan? Are we expecting when the forecast all along called for rain? Do you really want to believe for a millisecond that the Dolphin coaching staff had no contingency, had no idea?
The way Tua played.
Come on.
The way Tua played. Do you think he practiced with a wet ball throughout the week? Just tell me that part right there.
If he didn't, it's criminal negligence, and that would almost justify firing on the spot if he didn't.
Okay, well, I mean,
he certainly looked like somebody who didn't.
Well, I wish somebody would have asked the coach today to follow up on the Gesicki thing, because nobody's asked the coach that. And hey, coach,
chances are you wouldn't get a direct answer.
Did you have Tua practice with a wet ball last week? You know what I mean?
That would have been a great question.
And you know what he's going to say, right? He's going to cowardly back out of that and say, "Hey, we're on to New England. We're not worried about what happened last week. Hey, it happened. Whatever happened last week, we prepared this, that, and he won't give in. Why? Because he knows he's going to look terrible by telling you, no, we didn't have to practice with a wet ball. Because
I can't believe that. I mean, to me, it'd be like a high school
he
coach
played like
would know
it.
to do that. A
But
high
he
school
played
coach
like
would know
it.
to do that. Come on,
But
Charlie
he
Fry.
played like
They
he
go.
played like it.
What, maybe the problem is somewhere else. I don't know. Charlie Fry's a former NFL quarterback. You don't think if they know the forecast calls for rain, you don't think he'd have to throw wet balls? Come on, I not buying
bro.
it.
We're talking about a whole bunch of unproven people at this job. None of these guys have ever been
Charlie Fry's a former
running
NFL
offenses
quarterback.
as successful coordinators or nothing like that. They're all newbies at this job, all of them. So I don't know.
No argument there.
I don't know.
But again, I'm not Charlie Fry. I'm not looking at him as a coach. I'm looking at him as a former NFL quarterback who knows if you're heading into a game where there's the rains in the forecast, you want to be throwing wet balls during the week. So it would be that might be my last appearance on the show if I ever find out that they didn't, because I might die of a heart attack on the spot. It would just absolutely floor me to no end.
Brother, we need you for long term here, okay? We just started this platform, all right? It needs to grow a lot more, okay? So relax, okay? Relax. We need you for a long time here, all right? You need to grow on this platform a lot more than just these appearances. More things need to be for Alan Poupart down the line. By the way, Yahweh Bula says, why did we triple reverse passes in the weather? That's actually a good point, man. You're doing all that kind of stuff in that funky weather.
Except, am I gonna get killed here for saying that the best spiral of the day belonged to Mike Gesicki?
Probably, yeah.
Then again, he threw it into triple coverage, but that's
right. It was a terrible pass.
And the
was
other
a
one,
strong arm. I get you.
No, it's like, man. No, I mean they were grasping at straws. I mean, they were looking for something to work offensively.
So let me ask you.
Yeah.
Tua had to hear about Watson all year.
Mm-hmm.
So is Flo now going to have to hear about Harbaugh? Because that's Ross's boy. And now a report comes out of The Athletic that he might be considering going to the NFL. Although I think, he took a pay cut last year. I think it's just to tell Michigan, hey, give me my money back. That's what I think it is. Because I really don't think he's an NFL coach. He's so goofy. Harbaugh, John is built for men. Jim is kind of built for kids in a way, but that's just me. Your thoughts on that?
Two things. Number one, he went to the Super Bowl, so obviously he knows something about coaching. Number one, this isn't mine. Somebody made a great point. May have been Dan Patrick on his radio show this morning, and it's an absolutely great point that he stays at Michigan. He finally got the big Ohio State win out of the way. Do we really think it's going to become an annual occurrence, or do we think that the ass kicking is going to start again from the Ohio State? It may never get any better for him at Michigan. He may never have better leverage.
I agree.
So, and
I agree, because in the end he got his ass kicked by Georgia. So to me, just because you beat Ohio State, that doesn't mean jack to me, dude. Because the Big Ten, I don't look at it at the level of the SEC anyway. So prove it to me that you can beat the real big boys. You know what I mean? So what Jim did this year, to me, it's almost like, dude, you've been there so long. It's only a matter of time with the talent that you're able to recruit to Michigan that you should be able at least to win the Big Ten once every 7, 8, 10 years. Give me a break, brother. I mean,
except Ohio State's kind of lapped them, though. I mean, it used to be. Yeah. It used to be. I mean, they used to be on a level playing field, and then Ohio State completely passed them. I mean, big time. And so, yeah, if Jim Harbaugh indeed has it in his mind that at some point he wants to get back to the NFL, he'll never have better leverage than he does now, and it's absolutely fair and to be expected that a whole bunch of people are going to write, tweet, talk about, is Stephen Ross going to make another push, because he's already gone after Jim Harbaugh before. So there's no reason to think, if he has any inclination of not retaining Brian Flores for next season. Yeah.
So the question is, would Chris Greer work with Jim Harbaugh, or would Jim Harbaugh want to work with Chris Greer? Is the question, and McKenzie and Allen, obviously, with that three-headed monster there. That's the question for me. If you're going to go after him, which, God, I think it would be a disaster, but whatever. That's the question. So does Jim bring his own general manager? Here's where, I know he got to the Super Bowl, but the two general managers he had in Seattle, in San Francisco, were monsters.
Trent Baalke,
Okay.
right?
No. Baalke came after. It was Schneider, who went to Seattle, and the gentleman that had the alcohol issues, who's he was in Washington. He helped build the Washington defense that they got there. Oh, dude, what's his name, bro?
Yeah, I know who you're referring to, but
he's an exceptional personnel guy, but he's had some demons. Yeah. And that's kind of been his undoing at times. But people always hire him because he's phenomenal. I'm trying to remember somebody. Come on, man. We got hundreds of people on the chat board. Somebody help me out with the damn name. Somebody out in the West Coast, help me out with the name. McLaughlin.
Yeah, I think that's the name I had. Scott
McLaughlin or something. Yeah, those two guys were monsters. I think almost any coach would have gotten them pretty deep. That San Francisco team that didn't win a Super Bowl, for me, over the last 20 years, is one of the 5 most talented teams I've ever seen in the NFL. In the last 20 years. Okay? And that's saying a lot. Okay? That team was loaded, bro. Mm-hmm. They were McLaughlin or whatever, and Schneider were on a roll. They were hitting on so many draft picks. It was one of the great underachieving teams. All right, what are you working on SI so Dolphin fans can check you out as you get ready for the final week in the postseason?
Maybe a lot of the things we've been talking about. Brian Flores told us today when I asked him, because today the clock ran out on the practice window for Malcolm Brown, who will not be activated off IR. So basically his season is over after 6-7 games. And it just highlights again the running back neglect that this organization continues to do. And we talked about last time that, their best running back's a guy they picked up in the middle of the season because they failed to attach enough importance to that position. And I'm not somebody who bangs the table for a first round pick. I wasn't necessarily on the Najee Harris bandwagon that he needed to be picked at 18. But you have to have something. You can't have.
Well, they hit on Phillips. They hit on Phillips, so you can. A pass rusher is so much more important. So that's.
But at some point, second round, third round, maybe you get somebody like Ramondre Stevenson would have been a good pick this year.
I agree.
Fourth round, the guy looks pretty damn good.
Yeah,
but no, let's keep trying with guys like Myles Gaskin and Savon Ahmed. No offense,
No, I'm with you. Yeah, they definitely got to improve that area. Follow them on Twitter at Poopart NFL. And, of course, like I always tell all of you out there while you're listening on the podcast or watching on YouTube, Sports Illustrated, you go to the Dolphins page, bookmark it, because Poopart writes about 46 articles a day, so you'll keep up with everything going on with the Miami Dolphins. Alan, as always, thank you, my brother. We shall talk on Sunday.
Post-game, yes, sir. Have a good one.
You got it. There you go. Alan Poopart, baby, in our Sports Grill Miami Dolphins report.
This has been the Sports Grill Miami Dolphins Insider Report with Alan Poupart, exclusively on the Big O Radio Show. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and never miss a report. Search Big O Radio Show on most platforms. Visit Sports Grill in our sponsored locations in Miami on Bird Road and 114th and in Miami Lakes in the Royal Oaks Plaza.
For over 16 years, EJDconstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDconstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better.
When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
All righty, boys and girls. There they are. They're getting ready for the show, for the Pallet Rack City Inside the Paint show. How you doing, boys? You doing all right? You feeling good? We got Clay up at noon. That's just
You know what? We're actually doing good because unlike the Heat, we show up every week, every Wednesday for an hour, good to go. No COVID.
They show up. They just don't show up in one piece, but they show up.
When 10 of 20 don't show up, it's like one of these boxes in the screen here should be empty if we were trying to emulate the Heat. Crazy times right now, but you know what? Like you and I and Clay have spoke about every Wednesday now for the last few months, you just stay afloat. Their time is coming. Might not be right now, but Big O, their time is coming.
Well, I got to tell you something, Clay. I'm having a blast watching the Heat. Why? Because I love development.
Yeah.
And to me, this is the best thing about the Miami. You know, it's kind of like crypto. And I tell people right now, Bitcoin's stuck in 46, 47. What it is, it's a buying time for you while it sits there. So kind of like VeChain and Cardano, they've been they've been waddling. And so take advantage of it, buy it. Well, that's what's happening right now. The Heat are kind of trading sideways, but while they're doing that, they're building equity. So it's kind of in crypto when you stake and you're going sideways, you're still earning interest and you're still making money in the process. Well, so the Heat are making money by investing in the future. And at the end of the year, when you see how deep that team is, that's what's going to help Flo when they're in foul trouble, when they have an injury, when something COVID related comes up. They can now go to a slew of young guys that they have developed throughout the tough times.
Let me try to take that. You and I are both on the same page where we're not financial advisors here, right? But I'm going to try to take the comparison a little bit further in that, you know, sometimes when the market starts to go down a little bit, you want to try to mitigate your losses. And where I think the Heat have been really fortunate so far is they've had two injuries that look like they could have been extremely significant. The Dwayne Dedmon injury and then also the Jimmy Butler injury. I mean, when you saw Jimmy Butler on the floor and he doesn't get up, your heart just sinks. And it looks for now like it's more of a week, potentially couple of week long thing. And Ira will give us the inside scoop on that.
I don't even think that long, so I'm going to be more optimistic, Mr. Clay.
And man, when that happened, it was much like, you know, and we're not going to sit here and say that Dwayne Dedmon is as important as Jimmy Butler, but when you saw Dedmon go down a few weeks ago, you thought season ending. I mean, the way he grabbed that knee, and when I saw Jimmy go down the other night, I thought, oh man, this whole season is laying there on the. So it's like if you're in one of these financial bear markets and finding the right time to kind of get out before the whole thing crashes, the Heat have been able to kind of mitigate these crashes where things could have been really bad. And look, you know, we mentioned how things are around the league. You're playing a Portland team tonight. Yeah, you're not going to have Jimmy Butler. They're not going to have Damian Lillard or CJ McCollum. And obviously you got to account for Norman Powell and they have some other talented players, but there's a way that you can kind of navigate this stuff. And the Heat have done a good job of doing that. There was one game on the recent trip that I thought was a bit of a failure, and we'll talk about that. But overall, guys, I'm with you. I feel like things could have been much worse, and it's also been really nice to see these guys develop.
It's nice for them to get a break, too, because over the years, the Heat don't get some breaks and the injuries kill them or something happens. So it's nice that those injuries weren't serious. And by the way, when there's blood on the streets, that's when you buy. And that's when you get. And that's when you get a Kyle Guy. There we go. Pallet Rack City Inside the Paint show is next. Hey, it's Big O. Protect your home the way we do with Sloman's Home Security, folks. And if you want some great news, how about this? A free doorbell camera. That's right. The first 40 Big O listeners who dial 1-800-ALARM-ME will get this limited time offer of a free doorbell camera that connects directly to your smartphone with installation of your Sloman's Shield. And that's not all, folks. Sloman's is going to give you a free customized home security system and professional installation when you use their low-cost central station monitoring. So you're getting an LED touchscreen pad, a motion detector, 3 arm doors, and backup battery. Plus, if you're one of the first 40 Big O listeners to call 1-800-ALARM-ME, you'll receive a free doorbell camera with the installation of your Sloman's Shield. Keep your family safe like we do here in the Alzigari family. Call 1-800-ALARM-ME. That's 1-800-ALARM-ME.
Sports fans love a place with great food, cold drinks, and TVs everywhere. That's why sports fans love Sports Grill and their 7 amazing locations. Check out the Bird Road location at 11481 Southwest 40th Street in the back corner of the West Bird Shopping Center. Sports Grill is also now offering some great employment opportunities. All kinds of positions are now available from kitchen to hosting. Call for more information at 305-485-8845. From wraps to salads to amazingly delicious specialty dishes, Sports Grill is the home to the legendary special grilled wings. Since 1987, Sports Grill, good food, good drink, and good friends. When you need your warehouse looking good while staying efficient, there's only one place to find the finest racks in the business. Pallet Rack City in Hialeah. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. Pallet Rack City is the company you need when you want your warehouse sporting the finest racks in the business. After all, who doesn't love a great rack? Pallet Rack City. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. Beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. Time for an hour of hardcore hoops with a Pallet Rack City Inside the Paint program with Ira Winderman and Clay Ferraro. There's only one place to find the finest racks in the business. Pallet Rack City in Hialeah. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. Let's get to the show basketball fans crave. Let's get inside the paint.
Welcome. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Clay Ferraro here. Ira Winderman is getting ready for a late night, as I guess all of us are who follow the Miami Heat. Those of you fans who are going to watch the game tonight in a different Miami Heat team than we're used to seeing. But at this point, Ira, it almost feels like every night's going to be a different Miami Heat team than we're used to seeing. So I want to kind of set the stage here, go through what we've seen over the last week, these last few days, and then also kind of go big picture with some of the stuff that Big O was talking about and some of the development with some of these players. But let's start with what's coming up tonight. I mentioned the Jimmy Butler injury at the outset here. What's the latest on what you're hearing on that, and when we could see him in uniform again after what looked to be a really scary injury?
Clay, I think as soon as possibly Saturday's game in Phoenix. I think it was just a small turn. He walked to the team bus. There was video on the online yesterday in San Francisco as they headed up to Portland. I don't think it's as major as people think. I think he dodged the bullet. Now the question is, as I wrote in my Ask Ira at sunsentinel.com, will he finally tape his ankles?
It's the big question that we've all been wondering about. No, but seriously, I think the thing with Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry, and and I talked about this going back to the summer and when all this when this roster was put together, it was you figured at some point you were going to have to navigate games without one or both of these players, and two guys who are obviously the cornerstones of your franchise along with Bam Adebayo, and yet you were hoping to do it by resting the players as opposed to having them get hurt. And unfortunately, we've seen some ankle injury. We've seen some issues pop up. Ira, I'm going to ask you this. At what point, as a Miami Heat organization, do you go against everything that you're about, which is competition every night, and kind of pull back the reins a little bit once these guys are healthy and say, okay, Kyle and Jimmy, you're sitting out this second night of a back-to-back?
I think that's coming, and it's interesting. The NBA, when they reconfigured the schedule after San Antonio's postponement last week, they created a very interesting scenario. On January 31st, the Heat have a game in Boston. They were supposed to be off for 2 more days and then play in Toronto. They now moved that Toronto game up, put the San Antonio game in the Toronto slot. At Boston one night, at Toronto the next. Kyle Lowry's homecoming. But a game, because of Ontario civic rules with the pandemic, possibly no fans in the building. I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle Lowry sits out that game. I think Kyle Lowry wants to have the triumphant return, not an empty arena return. So I could see the Heat, because of border restrictions and things like that. Golden State did that earlier this year. They didn't send a bunch of players up to Canada. They didn't want to risk them not being able to test in and test out, especially on a back-to-back. So I think you're going to see a little bit of that. But Clay, I think mostly it's going to be what we saw on this trip. You could have made an argument after the Sacramento game to sit Kyle Lowry or sit Jimmy Butler, but they didn't. That's who they are. That's their mindset. It's sort of whatever you want to call to the walls. That's who this team is. So even Eric Spoelstra, very candidly after the game, speaking to us on a late Monday night, he said, I'm not as concerned about Kyle's foul trouble tonight. He played through those 5 fouls. I just wanted to keep his minutes down. Then he looks at his box score. He goes, yeah, I kept him all the way down to 38 minutes. And that was after he played 38 minutes the night before in Sacramento. They can't help themselves. That's just who they are. That's how they're wired. Clay, I think you would have agreed. I don't know how late you stayed up on Monday if you watched it all. There was a point in that game they were down 7 or 8 points. You could have, to use Heat parlance, let go of the rope. They didn't. PJ Tucker hits a 3-pointer, 4 minutes to go. They're within 4 points in that game. I just think that's how they're wired. You can tell Jimmy he's done for the night. You can tell Kyle he's done for the night. But you know what's going to happen? They're going to walk up to the front of the bench, and they're going to go, put me in, coach. And you know what's going to happen if coach doesn't? They're going to walk right up to the scorer's table and put themselves in. It's just who they are and what they are. It sets a great example for the Omar Yurtsevins to come back after getting stitches, from players to push their way back from injuries. So I don't think you can deculturify, if that's the word, this team, because it's just not who they are. They play, they live in the moment. You saw Steve Kerr's quotes after the game.
Yeah.
I wrote about it. Anthony Chang wrote about it. Tim Reynolds tweeted it, where he said, hey, I've never seen a shorthanded team put up that kind of fight. They had no one, and then they lost Jimmy Butler. I think you have to accept it. If they run him into the ground, they run him into the ground, but they're going to be true to who they are. And because of that mindset, with all that's gone on, no Bam for the month of December, Jimmy Butler missing just a gazillion games. They're still 4th place in the East, home court, first round of the playoffs. It's just how they're wired. I don't think, Clay, you can change that.
And by the way, Ira, I think that's a very good point, because if you don't get the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, the difference between that and the 2, 3, and maybe even the 4, it's really not enormous. You're going to have to likely go through 2 of the, you're talking about the Milwaukees and Brooklyn. Like, those are the teams that
And
you
Chicago.
feel like you're going to have to
Let's
go
not
through.
understate
And
Chicago play, yeah.
So let's, regardless, the chances are, no matter where you finish, you're going to have to go through 2 of those teams in order to now, you don't want to get to 5 to where you're going to have to potentially play 3 of those teams. Right.
Yeah.
So, to where you could play Chicago in the first round. Then if you beat them, you play Brooklyn. Then you play, like, you don't want to have to get to that point. And yet at the same time, it's all about getting to the finish line in one piece. And with this team, it's that cohesive unit and the guys that you really want to see on the floor. And I want to go back to something you said, which is really interesting, because I've been of the mindset going back to even before the season started that I thought they should rest these guys in the second night of a back-to-back. And when it became apparent to me that they weren't going to do that was when they beat the snot out of Charlotte and then went on the road. I think it was to Memphis the next night. And I was thinking, all right, well, this is, hey, rest your guys. And no, they went out there and they kicked the snot out of Memphis as well. And so at that point, it kind of set the tone to me. And not to, this is a basketball show, but, everybody knows me, knows I'm a Saints fan. You can't, with Sean Payton, the head coach of the Saints, you can't, sing his praises when he kicks an onside kick to start the second half of the Super Bowl, and then at the same time get mad when he goes for it on 4th and 3 at his own 40-yard line, right? If you are setting this mindset of being aggressive, if you're setting this mindset and the tone and you're telling the rest of your team to do this, or I'm going to be about this, and then you don't do it in those moments of truth, or even the moments during the season that may not seem overly important, it starts to wear away at that identity a bit. So what you said, Ira, I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to stop even talking about resting these guys on the second night of a bet. I think your point about the Toronto trip is a good one because of extenuating circumstances.
Yes. Sometimes it becomes overwhelming. Sometimes it's just too much, yeah.
You have to be who you are. And as much as we can sit from the outside, it's not just you and me. Fans wonder the same thing too, about just kind of taking a night off, whatever. So, as much as we all may be wondering what is prudent in those situations, there's a culture and an identity that is built within those walls that you don't want to go against, that it's more important to maintain that culture than whatever slight risk of injury or anything like that there might be. Really quickly, guys, please make sure to hit the like button. That does us a big favor. And you guys are always awesome in the comments and dropping questions like that. So keep doing that, and we'll keep this thing rolling and try to make this as interactive as possible. So looking ahead to tonight's game, Myron, we'll kind of set the stage for the rest of the week. You mentioned you think that we could see Jimmy Butler back for that. It's a potential. NBA Finals preview, just like the other night was.
There
even though
you
it's too
go.
early.
There
Yeah,
you
I mean,
go.
but that's the type of game that like the Heat want. They want to show what they're about in that sort of game. So we'll talk about that coming up in a bit.
But they won't show what they're about because you still won't have Bam Adebayo. You probably still
True.
won't have Dwayne Dedmon. You still have some guys coming back from the COVID list. The real Heat will make its season debut sometime in January or early February. This is all preamble. This is almost like the G League having a preseason for their showcase and then their regular season starting on January 6th. This is all these are almost all seeding games. You remember when they went to the bubble?
Yeah,
They played a bunch of seeding games and then the playoffs start. I honestly feel the first half of this NBA season is the seeding games. It's just show who you are or aren't. Okay, we know the Magic suck. We know the Pistons suck. We know that Cleveland's better than we thought they would be. We're seeing that Atlanta's not who we thought they'd be. So this is all the setup for what follows next. Teams are getting an order. Like you mentioned, Clay, it looks like at the top of the East, there is a definitive four. In some order, it looks like Chicago, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Miami. Then there's that second tier with Boston and Philly just can't quite get it right and turn up the other way. So that's what you're having teams set up in sort of their little general areas of where they are. Then we'll start the season. Players will come back. The entire league will have been infected and therefore hopefully have, not have to worry about COVID over the second half of the season. And then it gets real. This is all about seeding. These are, I guess I put it this way. These are the qualifying games. These are the positioning rounds. These are the time trials.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Go to Vialoa. Good question and good screen name.
Not as good as Scummy, but go ahead.
Not as good as Scummy or Mari Goat Chalmers, which is what I would have picked for the chat. But asks about Victor Oladipo, and I think we're gonna get the same thing from Spo if anybody dares to ask him. He'll say no update. But one morning he's just going to go out there and he's going to say, "Hey, guess who's available tonight?" That's how Spo does things. I will say this though, Ira, and I think you'll back me up on this: the fact that we have seen him on these trips, and the fact that we've seen
not this trip,
not the West Coast trip,
yeah.
but the fact that he was traveling for the shorter trips,
previous trip, yes,
yeah, it feels like they're making an effort to keep him around the team, and all we can do is speculate, is because they're not going to ever say anything like this. But to me, it feels almost more prudent if he's not going to play, to not have him travel on this trip because of what's going on with COVID right now. Just league-wide, you don't want as many people there. But it just feels like, and this is getting back to the question, if he were so far away that it made more sense for him to just stay home the whole time and rehab on his own, whatever, then they wouldn't have had him getting on a plane and going on some of these smaller road trips before this. So it doesn't mean so this goes back to what you said a second ago, Ira, and this is where I want to kind of bring it full circle.
Sure.
You said we're going to see the real Miami Heat late January, early February. That's what I think we anticipate is going to happen. Do you mean Victor Oladipo is going to be a part of that? Do you get the feeling that by early February we could see him in a Heat uniform on the floor?
You moved the target, so I'm glad you said early February. I think what the Heat are going to do is take stock of what they know, their known quantities, as they approach the February 10th trading deadline. Then they could say, okay, we know this now. We know who Max Strus has become. We know what Omer Yurtseven is. Take stock of what they have and then say, now let's take stock of the rest of the league. Who's available? What might be in play for us? And Victor Oladipo will sort of almost be in that group B. They'll almost pretend that Victor Oladipo is a player available at the trading deadline. And they'll say to themselves, right now where this Miami Heat team is, with our needs, with our wants, where would Victor Oladipo fit in versus player X on another team? And if they say, well, we've had Victor in our gym since last April, last March, we know who he is, that's going to be our trading deadline move. That's going to be the player we bring in February 10th and fast track. Or, and Clay, this is interesting, because when you look at the Miami Heat on the wing right now, okay, you know that, let's go with our traditional starting lineup. Everyone's healthy, just for argument's sake. Humor me on this, okay, Clay? So you're using Bam, and you're using PJ, you're using Duncan, you're using Jimmy, and Kyle as our starters, just for argument's sake. We know that Tyler Hero is our sixth man. Are you totally comfortable saying, and as soon as Victor Oladipo comes back, he plays ahead of Max Strus? Are you totally comfortable saying, as soon as Victor Oladipo comes back, he plays ahead of Gabe Vincent? So you're still taking stock of those players, seeing what they give you also. we get so caught up in sports sometimes on someone who was someone. You've seen this with the Dolphins, the running back they bring in this year, or someone like that. You might have used to have been someone, but you haven't been that someone for a while. Victor Oladipo hasn't been Victor Oladipo for a calendar year. So I think the Heat are also doing their hierarchy, and they're saying, you know what? Where we think Victor Oladipo is going to be is not that much higher than Gabe Vincent or than Max Strus. And I think they'll really reset everything come February, because come February, you have the chance to make a trade, to think about buyout options, to move Caleb Martin to a two-way from a standard deal, to move KZ Okpala and free salary space to add a 15th player. So I think Victor Oladipo is almost more in the personnel mix than the roster mix right now. And that's why I think the February trading deadline will be the official reset for the Miami Heat. So don't buy your jerseys yet. I hope Michael McCullough's not listening. Wait till February 10th. Don't buy your team photos yet. I think you'll have a much better idea of who this team is. And right now, Victor Oladipo is no different than player X who might be available on the trade market for the Miami Heat. I think that's how you have to look at it.
And so just so you say this all the time, you don't want aggregators to run with something. And just to clarify,
I'm screwed anyway.
But just to clarify what you're saying, it's not that you're hearing that he is like behind a Max Strus or a Gabe Vincent at this point.
It's what I'm seeing. It's what I'm seeing with my eyes.
In what sense? Because those guys have played so well?
They play well because Gabe Vincent's not the throwaway 12th man, I thought, because Max Strus is not the one-dimensional hit shots, but is your 15th man player. Times have changed since Victor Oladipo was acquired. He was acquired at the cost of a first-round draft swap. The Miami Heat will be picking in the first-round spot of the Brooklyn Nets this year because of the convoluted trade and the way it worked out. Okay, you're going to have to drop 7 spots in the draft. That doesn't mean you have to play a player. It's not like you traded away a prime asset and now you're trying to justify it. It's not like you traded Goran Dragic and Precious Achiuwa for Kyle Lowry and you're damn sure you're going to play Kyle Lowry.
Right.
That's the difference. Don't get caught up in the name, people. Get caught up in the best possible winning combination for the Miami Heat.
And so the inverse can also be true, though, too. Like, I mean, if they're seeing something from him where
absolutely,
and you see him, and I don't think he's going to be in the starting lineup anytime soon, because I do think that Spo is going to like having that mix of guys that he has on the floor to start the game. I think they like the fact that the first shot of every game is a Duncan Robinson 3, that they find somebody to get him off of a screen. But to your overall point, it is they are not going to play Victor Oladipo because of his name, but they're also not going to play him because the other guys have shown that they're good. But even though Oladipo is playing better, we don't want to rock the boat. Whatever.
Oh,
no, they're going to play the best players.
They might say, you know what? What we've seen of Gabe Vincent is the best we're going to see because of our years of institutional knowledge. We know this is the upside.
Yes.
What we've seen from Max Strus is nice, but he's an 11th man or an 8th man or a 7th man. We know that's the upside. Pat Riley's pretty good about evaluating. So is Andy Ellisberg, Adam Simon, the whole front office there, Eric Amsler. So I think they look at it that way, and they'll decide what the upside is. Then they'll decide what the upside of Vic is and go from there. But you know what? The Heat have always favored those who get on the court, who show it on the court, as opposed to speculative, because you get in trouble when you project what someone will be, and then Mike Bibby shows up, and he's not what you thought he would be.
Yeah, and the good thing with Vic, and we're up against a break, and we'll get to it. Sure. The good thing with Vic is they've had him in the building. Like, they know what his mindset is. They know the work that he's put in. So, I also, look, I feel like when we saw him close to healthy, when he was getting closer to healthy, at the very least, he may not be offensively the Victor Oladipo. He's still a defensive menace, man. And there are still things that he does that if you play against a Milwaukee or especially a Brooklyn, a full strength Brooklyn in the playoffs, you can see a lot of benefit that he can bring. All right, we're going to get some more of your comments, your questions here in the chat. Plus, I want to look ahead to see what's coming up next for the Heat. And could Jimmy Butler be back as soon as this weekend for what Ira is calling an NBA Finals preview? All right, not really. That's next right here on Inside the Paint.
Reach out to Ira and Clay. Drop them an email at insidethepaint@yahoo.com. Chime in on the YouTube chat board. You're listening to the Pallet Rack City Inside the Paint Show. When you need your warehouse looking good while staying efficient, there's only one place to find the finest racks in the business. Pallet Rack City in Hialeah. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. Pallet Rack City is the company you need when you want your warehouse sporting the finest racks in the business. After all, who doesn't love a great rack? Pallet Rack City. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. Sports fans love a place with great food, cold drinks, and TVs everywhere. That's why sports fans love Sports Grill and their 7 amazing locations. Check out the Bird Road location at 11481 Southwest 40th Street in the back corner of the West Bird Shopping Center. Sports Grill is also now offering some great employment opportunities. All kinds of positions are now available from kitchen to hosting. Call for more information at 305-485-8845. From wraps to salads to amazingly delicious specialty dishes, Sports Grill is the home to the legendary special grilled wings. Since 1987, Sports Grill, good food, good drink, and good friends.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing a personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines. If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
When you're ready to purchase a new home loan or refinance the one you have, American Dream Lending will make sure your loan experience is easy with fast approvals and quick closings. With many loan programs and competitive rates, now is the time to turn your dreams into reality. Ask about special financing for veterans. They never charge an application fee and you will work directly with one of their experienced loan professionals. Stop dreaming and contact American Dream Lending today, 786-802-1727 or online at adreamlending.com. Welcome back to the Pallet Rack City Inside the Paint program with Ira Winderman and Clay Ferraro. Let's get back to the guys that just updated their email from Prodigy to AOL. Here's Ira and Clay.
Welcome back. Rolling on here on Inside the Paint. I got a few good questions here, Iris. I'm going to try to take them in order from where I saw them. First question from Hawaiian Punch. Do you get the feeling at all that the NBA is even considering canceling the All-Star game?
That's a really good question, Clay. And the answer is abso-freaking-lutely not, because it's all about the marketing. It's about the prepaid sponsorships. Look, this year's game is in Cleveland. I have no desire to spend February 20th in Cleveland. I don't know if there are many who do, but they have this whole NBA at 75 anniversary planned and all that. There certainly will be COVID restrictions. It certainly will be different than usual. I think the world is sort of set on the fact that this latest pandemic, epidemic, or whatever, probably will be a January event. And that probably by that time, Super Bowl and NBA All-Star game, it'll trickle back the otherwise. We'll all be immune because we'll all have been infected. So I think they move ahead with it. But I got to tell you, this might be the kind of year we sort of see it like the Pro Bowl, where guys desperately want to get selected to get the bonuses in their contract.
Exactly.
And guys desperately will want to come up with a reason. It's funny. Unlike Antonio Brown faking his vaccination card, guys might fake positive COVID tests. I love to be in Cleveland, but look, here's my little pink line on my home test. I can't be there. And then you see him a picture of them out at South Beach or somewhere like that. I mean, I know they want to spread it around. I know Dan Gilbert's been a good citizen when he went
Wait. They want to spread it around?
No, they want to spread around the wealth of the All-Star weekend, not of COVID. But honestly, I do think you will see a lot of that. I think there'll be some players, they love the honor of it, but there's a lot better places you can spend February 20th than Cleveland, Ohio, on the shores of the Erie.
And just so people know, my family and I actually spent Christmas in Ohio, in Cleveland area, and man, it was cold. That's all I'm going to say about it. And man, do I sometimes wish that my in-laws lived somewhere else. But no, it's great to spend some time with family. I'm with you, by the way. Too much money involved with this.
Right.
No matter what adjustments they have to make, they will make those in order to put on the event because of everything that goes into it. Filthy Cat asked a good question, which is kind of like what Scummy asks a good question. When Dedmon comes back, and by the way, real quickly, do we know a timeline on that? Is there?
I think by the end of the trip, he's traveling. It was 1 to 2 weeks. We're past 1 week. We're getting to the 2 week mark. So it's a matter of conditioning. It's a matter also how others are playing. I know this question is going to be about Omer Yurtseven. So it's a matter of, you don't necessarily get in the way of a good thing, but there also is a long view here. So continue, Clay.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's where the question goes is who do you see getting more minutes between Dedmon and Yurtseven?
I think you go back. I think you go back to the veterans. I think you go back to what wins for us in playoffs. Omer has been terrific, has been a rebounding machine, but still is mistake prone. Still has shown a little bit of those Joel Anthony hands. You still have to work on that a little bit. He's the long view. Dwayne Dedmon's under contract for 1 year. Then he can cut bait, so you can wait till next year. Is still a long view with Omer Yurtseven. What he's done has been great, but what he's done has also been more of a featured element with so many others out, whether it was Lowry out or Butler out or some of the other wing players out. He won't be getting as many opportunities when everyone is whole. Dwayne Dedmon doesn't need the ball to defend, to be big, to rebound, to block shots, to take charges. So I think ultimately I love Omer's numbers. I think I wrote this the other day in the Sun Sentinel. If he were to continue on this trend, I think he'd be in the voting for one of the all-rookie teams. His numbers have been off the charts. They've been almost rookie record-setting. But I think eventually you're saying we're in it to win it as opposed to in it to build stats. I think Omer take the longer view, and you'll be more satisfied. There is something there that he found. They eventually will fully develop it. But Dwayne Dedmon, I believe, steps back into the backup role once Bam Adebayo also comes back.
And this is where it's also fascinating. It's the Heat's defense is built on synergy and guys knowing where the other guy is. And when it's at its best, it is just, I mean, they are all over the place and they're able to switch at will and
5 men on a
take
string,
away.
yeah.
Right. And for all that Omer Yurtseven does well, and by the way, he's been a better defender at the rim than I think we anticipated, just strictly because of his size and his basketball IQ on D. Like, it feels like he knows where to be when guys get near the rim. He's still very limited when it comes to foot speed and quickness when you have to go and move around defensively in today's NBA game. Now, that's something that might eventually come in time.
Right.
But for this team and how this Miami Heat defense is built, you want Dwayne Dedmon out there. You want the ability to have somebody like
that. And the playoffs and contention are about minimizing mistakes when everything is magnified.
Yes.
Omer Yurtseven, God bless him, will still make 3 to 5 mistakes a game because that's what young players do.
100%.
That's why Pat Riley doesn't play young players in playoff games if he can avoid it. So he'll grow through those mistakes. He'll go to the tape. He'll learn from it. Can he become a contributor down the line? Absolutely. Can he become a trade chip down the line? Absolutely. The question here is he going to be an Hassan Whiteside stats player, or is he going to become a playoff winning player? We're still not sure. He's still there. Right now, he's putting up the Whiteside type numbers. Eventually, we have to see if he could also contribute as a playoff level winning player.
And something that I've noticed with him, and you can probably give a better view on this, is he seems to crave the teaching, the learning. Like there's it really struck me when Jimmy Butler takes somebody aside. And how many times have we seen Jimmy Butler working with Omer Yurtseven in practice? You have to have a special mindset to be able to deal with Jimmy Butler's way of mentoring. Tyler Hero has it. Omer Yurtseven seems to have it, and you hear other guys on the team talk about how he kind of takes to the tutelage in the right way, to where the mistakes that he's making right now, 2 years from now, you could see a player who has eliminated many of those mistakes and is an absolute monster that you can't keep off the floor, and instead You have Eric Spoelstra going in the lab and figuring out ways that he could potentially get Bam Adebayo for the first time on the floor with the true big man,
Yeah.
that everybody's been asking for over and over again. So he's a fascinating player, and this goes back to what Big O was saying at the crossover, that he's the type of player that the Heat thrive on, and he may even have a higher ceiling than some of the
You know
rest.
what, Clay? It's like what O talks about all the time about the Dolphins' offensive line, that you realize now you thought you could develop those players. They've reached their maximum upside, and their maximum upside in many cases really sucks. But you can see with Omar Yurtseven, there's still another level. Development stops when you plateau. You would rather have someone who's not as good right now, but can get better. But when players level off, that's when you say to yourself, maybe it's time to move on.
Yeah, our Carrillo, we knew the Heat were going to be a scrappy team this year, but this is ridiculous, loving every single minute of it. Yeah, and that's what this team's identity is. Tony asked a good question here, and we've kind of hit on this before, but I want to kind of take it in the context of what we're seeing right now.
Sure.
At what point do you consider putting Tyler Hero in the starting lineup? And again, I know this is something that we kind of addressed, but where he is relative to where he was a year ago, do you start to reassess potentially making him a starter, or do you like him where he is now and keeping the rotations the way they are?
I think because of the way this team is built, he's better as a sixth man because he could be the spark off the bench. I'm even curious tonight, now that you have Caleb Martin back, you have Max Strus back, you have PJ Tucker back, whether Eric shifts Tyler Hero back to the bench, maybe starts with PJ Tucker, Omar Yurtseven, Max Strus, Caleb Martin, and Kyle Lowry to get Tyler to what he does best, to be that boost off the bench, to be that guy who's shown to be a decent playmaker. So he can come in as a point guard now also. I think tonight's going to be interesting in Portland against the Trailblazers. I think there's a chance for, as well as Tyler has played, and for what he's given them in the absences of others, even with Jimmy out, I could see Tyler going to the bench to balance the lineup out a little bit more. I've always said this. We've talked about it for weeks. I think Tyler could be a great prototypic NBA sixth man. Whether he'll be satisfied with that, whether that's the best expenditure of eventually your extension dollars is a question. But I think this team works better when you have him, when you get into a malaise early, when you're not hitting shots, to have someone like that come off the bench. Because right now, it's either that or Kyle Guy. They just don't have another guy off the bench. I guess you can make Max Strus that guy if his win still needs to pick up a little bit tonight. But I think it's going to be interesting. I think when the Heat announced their starting lineup tonight at the Moda Center against Portland, I would not be surprised to see Tyler Hero playing again as a reserve.
And here's the other thing, Ira. I don't think you can have a starting lineup where you have both Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero in it. And so to me, it's the only way Tyler Hero starts for me is if you decide to make a change elsewhere. And if for some other reason you're going with maybe Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, I don't know, a Caleb Martin, Bam Adebayo.
You're talking about that
Jimmy
you
Butler.
can't have two minus defenders in there for you. And
Yes.
I agree. And that's, we haven't discussed this much, and I thought you alluded to it earlier in the show. That's what happened at the end of the Sacramento game. You were out of bodies, and you had to play Tyler Hero at the end.
Yes.
De'Aaron Fox gets him on his hips. He commits a foul. We knew they were searching out Tyler Hero. We know they search out Duncan Robinson in that situation. That was the problem. You didn't have a PJ Tucker to put in the game there. Heck, that might have been a situation the way Eric Spoelstra does things. He might have had Bam Adebayo and his length on De'Aaron Fox.
And he's buddies with Fox, so he would have
Right.
loved
The
that
Kentucky
matchup.
days and all of that. So I just think that's a case where, yes, Tyler Hero is a minus defender. He is. God bless him. He tries. Has the shorter arms. He just is. Duncan Robinson's a negative defender. John Schumann at NBA.com says that Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero have the most points scored against them one-on-one in drives, points per possession this season. It's just who they are. So you're right. You don't want that squared in your starting lineup of Tyler and Duncan. You prefer at the end of the game not to have both of them out there, let alone one of them, which you can avoid, like you said, when the Victor Oladipos come back, or even if Gabe Vincent was there on Sunday. Gabe Vincent would have played that defensive possession instead of Tyler Hero. It's the times. Eric Spoelstra had no choice. You saw the result. Fox gets to the line, 2 free throws, game over.
Yeah, and I mentioned it at the outset. In my opinion, the failure in that game was even less about that. It was some of the lazy offensive possessions. It just felt like some wasted 3-pointers. Yes. But I mean, it's not worth going back and rehashing
and even
it.
Jimmy Butler at the end saying, "I should have taken the 3." No, you
no,
should never take the 3. No, if you want Kyle Guy to take the 3 when he was on the court at the end, if Caleb Martin was in there or Kyle Lowry was in there, but hero ball has its limits, and it's the same thing. Greatest player in the history of the Miami Heat, Dwayne Wade, no questions, debate ended. But you know this, Clay. There were times that Dwayne would settle for the 3 at the end of a game. It's not his shot. Right. Dwayne Wade has 75 other tricks in his bag that are better. Jimmy Butler has 50 other tricks in his bag that are better. That's what you get to. So I'm glad Jimmy didn't settle for the 3 and all or nothing. He had a bunny. He had a 6-foot shot. He happened to miss it. But man, if I can get that shot off an inbound with 6 seconds to go, I will take it every single time.
And I counted 4 other threes that were wasted possessions. It was 2 by Jimmy Butler. It was 1 by Kyle Lowry and 1 by Tyler Hero. That was the failure to me. The personnel situation defensively, but you shouldn't have gotten into that. Oh, and the last one was Caleb Martin, the bad foul on the 3-pointer by Fox. That's where they lost that game, not on the shot by Jimmy Butler late. And last question that I want to get to before the break. We have a couple more that I'll get to on the other side, but man of 1,005 holds. Do you feel as though the NBA needs to start thinking about going to a 20-21-man roster to allow it to be easier for teams right now to get guys out there quicker if they have positive tests?
Well, they basically are doing that. And the Heat are carrying 20 players now. And all the NBA said is this. For each COVID guy that comes back, one of your emergency guys must be deactivated. So Eric Holman is listed that way for tonight's game in Portland because now Max Strus has come back. There'll be another player, Mario, Chris Silva, someone else, they'll do that. But let's be honest here, Clay. You play 5 players. You rotate 8 or 9 players. You don't need that many extra players. And I would rather, and I've said this before, not have one team hoard players. So when another team needs someone, take Chris Silva. His 10-day ran out of Minnesota. They were fine. The Heat immediately jumped on it and called up and said, Chris, as soon as that deal's done, come sign with us. Greg Monroe's finishing a 10-day deal right now with Minnesota. He's already been contacted by Washington. As soon as your deal is up, come to us. I'd rather have an available pool of players rather than one team like Alabama in football just hoarding the top 105 prospects in the country.
Yeah, and I think it's, to your point, it's about competitive balance. And, I think what they've done is make this pool of players available to where if you're getting down to the 20th, 21st person as it is, that's a guy who you typically wouldn't be playing anyway, and you're just in an emergency COVID situation. And frankly, I don't think there's a big difference between having that guy in your building on a Tuesday for a Tuesday night game or pulling him up from a G League affiliate that may be the closest to you at that point, like the Heat were having to try to do for the Spurs game, pulling in guys from Austin. Like, when you get to that point, you kind of just have to look at it as, all right, let's just get available bodies on the floor.
Right.
And if you find a way to squeak out a win, then great. But you have to kind of take it as being a sign of the times. Other side, Ira, I want to talk about these games coming up. Also, when are we going to see Rio? I want to see Rio. I want to get your take on that coming up next here on Inside the Paint.
You're listening to the Pallet Rack City Inside the Paint Show. Pallet Rack City in Hialeah is the company you need when you want your warehouse sporting the finest racks in the business. After all, who doesn't love a good rack? Pallet Rack City. When you need your warehouse looking good while staying efficient, there's only one place to find the finest racks in the business. Pallet Rack City in Hialeah. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. Pallet Rack City is the company you need when you want your warehouse sporting the finest racks in the business. After all, who doesn't love a great rack? Pallet Rack City. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547.
Folks, you can support the hardest working sports talk show in South Florida through Cash App or Venmo. Just search Cash Big O Show. Support us through Cash App or Venmo. Cash Big O Show. We thank you for your incredible support. For over 16 years, EJDConstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDConstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDConstruction.com.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
When you're ready to purchase a new home loan or refinance the one you have, American Dream Lending will make sure your loan experience is easy with fast approvals and quick closings. With many loan programs and competitive rates, now is the time to turn your dreams into reality. Ask about special financing for veterans. They never charge an application fee, and you will work directly with one of their experienced loan professionals. Stop dreaming and contact American Dream Lending today. 786-802-1727 or online at adreamlending.com. If it's hardcore hoops you desire, make sure you subscribe to the Big O Radio Show and never miss an episode of Inside the Paint. Let's get back to the Pallet Rack City Inside the Paint Show with Ira Winderman and Clay Ferraro.
Welcome back, home stretch here. Clay Ferraro along with Ira Winderman, and apparently I was zoomed in on my nostrils there. So getting to some of these questions, Ira, I want to get to part two of Tony's question in a second, but something that John said and was kind of echoed here by Carlos about the regular season in the NBA, saying, I mean, basically we're at a point with the regular season where everybody kind of shrugs their shoulders, meaning the players, guys kind of shrug their shoulders, and it's all about the playoffs. Yeah, I think we agree in this sense. It's, you got to get to the finish line healthy, and you got to, now you don't want to fall into a point where you're in one of those play-in tournament type games and you kind of risk seeing your season fall apart. You also would prefer to not have to go to the 5 or 6 line to where potentially you could have to play 3 of the, I don't want to call them elite teams, but 3 of the best teams, on your way to the play. But yeah, I mean, I think to be fair, you want to get to the first round of the playoffs with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, PJ. You want to get there with these guys healthy and see if you could, because Ira, to me, I saw all I needed to see from this Heat team the first 3 weeks of the season. When they went out there opening night and they beat the pants off of Milwaukee, then they went into Brooklyn and they absolutely stomped them, regardless of what the final score said. That told me this team, when healthy, is a contender. They are good enough to put out a lineup that could potentially go to the NBA Finals, but get to the finish line healthy. As long as you're there and you're in the top 4, Ira, I'll feel good about this. And I agree with what you guys said, John and Carlos. It's kind of a shoulder shrug as long as you can get there healthy.
Look, this is a league where 16 of the 30 teams make the playoffs. With the play-in, 20 of the 30 teams play on beyond the regular season. Look, if the NFL had this many playoff teams, all these 8-8 or now 9-8 Dolphin season would be celebrated. This is our 6th straight year in the playoffs because more than half the teams make the playoffs, like they do in the NHL, half the teams, in the NBA, more than half the teams. But the reality is, because you only need to get to the top 20 to play on and the top 16 to get into the playoffs, then have a chance, you have to build your season that way. It's a different type of setup. It's a long grind to make money, but you know what matters most? No one remembers what seed you were when you get to the NBA Finals against the Lakers in 2020. They just remember that you got there at the end. So, of course, health matters. But you also have to develop a cohesion and a style and an identity. And as much, Clay, as you say the Heat had that in November and had that for a while coming into December, and then Bam Adebayo was lost, and then Markieff Morris was lost even before that, you need to reestablish that. You need to still give me in March or early April 2 or 3 weeks where I go, yeah, that's the game. That's the game. That's the rotation. That's the style. Then I feel comfortable. So you still have to build back up to something during the regular season as well. You have to know who you are. You can't be searching in the playoffs. I've seen the Heat do that too many times, try to find out who they are. Start Mike Bibby, don't start Mario Chalmers, change your lineup there, full court pressing in Charlotte when you're down during Riley's last year in the playoffs. You can't do that. You also have to know who you are.
Yeah, and to that point, though, I think what you just said, which is key, with this team and with, I think, what has been established, you probably do need 2 to 3 weeks. It's not 2 to 3 months, right? And I think that's kind of, when we saw the first couple of weeks of the season, it was like, and I think you and I talked about this in the preseason, it was like, oh, I don't know, I don't feel like this team that we're going to see in November is going to be as good as the team that we're going to hopefully see in March and April. That wasn't the case. I mean, they came out of the gates and they looked like a unit that had played together for a while. So with this team, and I guess to your point, it's more team specific and year specific. With this team, as long as you get 2 to 3 weeks of that, I'll feel pretty good about it. And Carlos follows up and he says, with that in mind, why do they play 82 games? In all seriousness, it's a waste of the season. Cut 33% of the games and make the season worthwhile. I'll tell you why. TV contracts.
So you're not
money.
cutting 33% of the gate revenue. You're not cutting 33% of the salary. That's why. Once you reach a level, it is very hard to dial it back. You just don't see that. Look at the NFL. They were comfortable at 14. They were comfortable at 16, but there's more revenue at 17. So I maybe I'm wrong, Clay. Maybe you can find an example where a league or even colleges or anything have trimmed back their schedules. It doesn't happen. It's a revenue machine. It's amount of television dollars. It's amount of attendance dollars. It's amount of marketing opportunities. So we're never going to undo this. It's never going to be fewer. They might take some out for an in-season tournament or something like that, but you're still going to be overwhelmed. And you know what? People still watch because it's something to do. It's nothing worse, at least background noise in your house on game nights.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is the playoffs are about teams. The playoffs are about the championships. And yes, it's about guys establishing themselves as all-time greats. But the regular season is about moments. The regular season is about, what we saw with Steph Curry the other. I mean, so you're right in that ideally maybe you don't want to water it down, and yet at the same time it presents more opportunities for us to see guys who have these crazy games or bonkers dunks. I mean, things that you're going to see over and over again. For years
The regular
to come.
season is about SportsCenter. Is that every night the NBA will create 10 moments. Every night the NBA will promote 3 to 5 players. Trae Young going off and losing in Portland. Anthony Simmons having a night like that. That's what the NBA is about. It creates moments. So yes, you might be watching a stinker of a game, but other people in other cities might be watching something remarkably compelling, like the Heat was down 4 with a shorthanded roster at Golden State on Monday night. That was on national TV on NBA TV.
And what NBA people would tell you is going by the NBA package to where you can watch those games in the other markets. And then following up on a question earlier, was this Tony who was asking about? I think it was Tony who was asking. Yeah, Tony was asking about Tyler Hero. He said second part of the Tyler Hero question relative to him being in the starting lineup is, what if he feels as though he should be in the starting lineup? I guess what you're kind of getting at here, Tony, is do you risk some bad blood? Do you risk him? I would say this: the Heat would tell him tough luck. And the thing that we've seen from Tyler Hero is, I think he feels like he should be starting, right? I mean, he's already there. I think Tyler Hero feels like he should be playing 48 minutes a game. And yet Tyler Hero knows that he would be remembered for what would happen in the final 5 minutes of a game, or what would happen during that, I think it was third quarter stretch against Boston in game 5 or 6. Game 6, my brain's leaving me. But the third quarter stretch where he were kind of floundering a little bit, and he essentially saved them and helped win them that game.
As long as the
Finals.
minutes are similar.
Yes.
In other words, and they are. Tyler Hero off the bench. Tyler Hero as a starter plays the same amount of minutes anyway. Eric Spoelstra is very good with manipulating his minutes, keeping people within target ranges, so that wouldn't change anyway. And he'd be more featured on the second unit without Jimmy and without Kyle at times to be more of boy wonder than to have to set up other players. We saw that the other day. He started, I think it was Houston or Sacramento 0 for 6 in the first quarter because he was playing with the other guys. He's much better when he gets a chance to sort of go off and maybe take terrible shots that happen to go in and not have to feel bad about that.
Yeah, and so with Tyler Hero too, and this kind of goes back to the point we were saying a second ago, the moments, right? And what you remember when you think of Tyler Hero, what do you think of? You don't think of, or any player for that matter. You don't think of, other than I think Steph Curry's first pointer against the Knicks was probably in the first quarter, or second quarter the other day. But you don't think of a guy coming off a curl with 7 minutes to go in the first quarter and knocking down a jump shot. You think about the three-pointer that Tyler Hero made against Philadelphia his rookie year after the steal from Jimmy Butler in the arena. You think about what he did, the snarl in the NBA Finals. Right. You think about I think it was against the Bulls where he hit the three-pointer and he pulled the air. Things that you do late in games, things that you do in those moments of truth. You think about that a lot more than you think about what you might do at the start of games. Coming up, we got the game against Phoenix in a few nights, but I want to start with the game tonight in Portland. Latest I saw is both Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum had been ruled out. I want to double check here because the Trailblazers just released an update on Damian Lillard. But what's your take on how the Heat will approach tonight? We know Jimmy Butler has been ruled out, but as far as the rest of the roster, how are they looking, and who do you anticipate to get the bigger minutes tonight?
Well, there's also a Larry Nance question. He had a false positive. He has to produce 2 negatives in a 24-hour period. He's in that process now. If he doesn't play, I've always said this. I line up and I say to myself, who are the best players in the game? So I guess if I look at Portland right now, not to overstate what Anthony Simons did the other day, but I'd probably say I'd look at Norman Powell and Josef Nurkic as sort of, their top 2 guys. I'd look at the Heat right now, probably as Tyler Hero and Kyle Lowry. And I'd say this, the talent level has evened up. So I think the team, maybe with a better coaching, I think right now we give that to Eric Spoelstra, with more motivation. Portland is sitting at home right now, reading these stories that Damian Lillard's season might be over due to his abdominal strain. They might have to call it. If you're a Portland player, and you're about to be told or learn that Damian Lillard's season's over, you know that your season's over. You cannot be in a good mental state. The Heat, by contrast, hey, yes, we lost Jimmy Butler. He's still with us, though. We got Max Strus back. We're getting healthier. We played a damn competitive game on Monday night against Golden State. We were within 2 points of the finish against Sacramento. I still think they have a good mojo about them to want to break this 2-game losing streak. So I think the Heat are in a good spot tonight. I think Portland could be down because the news around them is just so darn gloomy about what's going on there. So not a bad Heat spot. Would not be surprised if they're in good shape.
Yeah, and you also kind of know now when you talk about the best players on the floor, you kind of know that you have to attack Norman Powell. You can't let him beat you. And, whereas before, when Norman Powell is on the floor, Powell, I think, is one of the more underrated players in the league. And yet, part of the reason why he's able to get some of the numbers like he did the other night is because there's a lot of other talent there. Yes. Now, if a team can focus on him, has time to game plan against him, then obviously the compass moves a little bit. Okay, the game against Phoenix coming up this weekend. You said at the outset, and I want to go back to what we said in the crossover. You genuinely believe there's a chance that we could see Jimmy Butler on the floor for that game. And what's kind of giving you that vibe?
There are 2 days off before you play Phoenix. They're off on Thursday and Friday. Then they're off on Monday and Tuesday also. So you could make an argument, Clay, and say, hey, if you give him that day off, it's a 5-day stretch. He gets a full week. My thought is, but he can also get the ankle right to see if he's okay. And if something happens, you still have 2 days off after that anyway. They're playing to win. Now, it might be as simple as this. If they get the victory tonight, and they win in Portland, and they move to 2-2 on this trip, they might say, you know what? 2-3, we're fine. We're going to be 8 games over 500. Life goes on. So tonight's result could play into that. But I think Jimmy's a gamer. He's out there already. He's traveling. He's walking, without a boot or anything anyway. I know there's some thought you don't want to come back too soon. I think he's the kind of guy who pushes it. He wants to be out there. He wants to be out there for his teammates. Bam is already on the trip. He's getting encouraged. I just don't think it's nearly as serious as people initially thought.
Man, you talk about prayers up, dodging a bullet. Like that was crazy. And to your knowledge with this is not a high ankle deal, right? I mean, this is just your typical.
Look, all I know is I've spoken to the people close to Jimmy. I've spoken to people on the team. I've spoken to people who know Jimmy, and they say, nope, we dodged a bullet on this one. So no, I saw originally, it's weeks. It's going to be, maybe a month or so. It's not an Achilles. The Heat would not have him strolling out and about if it was anything they were that worried about. And honestly, if there's anything they were that worried about, he would have been on the medevac coming home and fully getting treatment from Harlan Selznick and their own medical team. That's why I'm not as pessimistic maybe as some other people are.
What do you do moving forward? And let's assume that you've got Omer Yurtseven, you're going to have Bam Adebayo back, Dwayne Dedmon. I mean, we've talked about how the Heat don't want to rest guys, right? And yet, at what point do you look at this thing and say, okay, we like the development that we're seeing out of Omer Yurtseven, and we want to see that continue? Or is it one of those things where he's immediately pushed to the back burner once you get back a Dwayne Dedmon and a Bam Adebayo?
Yes, because you're going to develop out of emergency. We saw that. We never thought they would develop Gabe Vincent this season. They had to. We never thought they'd develop Max Strus this season. They had to. We never thought they'd develop Omer Yurtseven this season. They had to. Those times will come organically. Guys will test positive. Guys will have minor injuries. Guys will need time off. Guys might have, unfortunately, I hope not, family emergencies. It's happened organically, Clay, and that's what will happen over the second half of the season. It will happen organically where guys will get called up, and the old Udonis Haslem, be ready so you don't have to get ready. That's what they are, and that's the carrot. Because all these guys know they will get the call if they're needed, and they damn well better be ready to back up what they've done to this point. So you're going to go back to your regular rotation. You're going to go back to the lineup of Bam and PJ Tucker and Duncan Robinson and Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler. You're going to go back to the first two off the bench of Dwayne Dedmon and Tyler Hero. Not as sold on Markieff Morris anymore. He's only played 10 games. Other guys have stepped up. He was never a guy in the offseason we said, this guy will be an absolute essential component. I think Markieff Morris is going to have to earn his way back. I think that's a little bit of the difference.
Which is surprising, by the way, because not surprising as much as it is if you had told us that going back to when he got hurt against Denver, he had been playing a pretty significant role as far as role players go. Final 60 seconds here. If you're going to give me one of the names of all the players you just mentioned, the developmental guys, to make a difference between this team winning a playoff series and not, who would be the guy to come in on the magic carpet and potentially be that guy that's going to be that Heat success story that makes the difference between them winning a series and not winning a series against one of those better teams?
As of now, it would have to be Gabe Vincent for this reason. He's only backup point guard. He's shown he's good enough. Now, if Victor Oladipo comes back, might not need him. If player X comes in a trade, might not have to use him. But right now, of all the guys I mentioned, Yurtseven's not essential. You're going to have Dedmon and Adebayo. Strus is not essential. You're still going to have Hero and Duncan Robinson on the wing. But you don't have a backup point guard, and Kyle Lowry will miss time. Might get injured in a playoff series. We saw that with Goran in that series against the Lakers. We saw it with Bam there. So I'd say of all the guys you have developed, the most important at the moment right now, until we know about Victor Oladipo, I'd say is Gabe Vincent. Way more essential than I ever could have fathomed when this season started.
That's why he's the man. Ira Winderman, Ira Heatbeat. Follow him on Twitter, guys. This has been a blast. We do it every Wednesday right here on the Big O Show. Big O is back and rolling on next.
You've been listening to the Pallet Rack City Inside the Paint program with Ira Winderman and Clay Ferraro, exclusively on the Big O Radio Show. Search Big O Radio Show on most platforms. Subscribe and smash the like button to support Inside the Paint. If you want your warehouse sporting the finest racks in the business, there's only one choice: Pallet Rack City. When you need your warehouse looking good while staying efficient, there's only one place to find the finest racks in the business: Pallet Rack City in Hialeah. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. Pallet Rack City is the company you need when you want your warehouse sporting the finest racks in the business. After all, who doesn't love a great rack? Pallet Rack City. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547.
This is the Big O Show.
When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
All righty. We back. It's a short one because obviously we've done most of the show already. Just wanted to kind of come back, talk a couple things, kind of wrap it up. Obviously, thank you to Ira and Clay. Excellent work by them on the Pallet Rock City Inside the Paint show. They'll be back next week as they are, and you'll always catch Ira here twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. Also with the Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA report. Remember, tomorrow we're going to be at Hialeah Park. All right, so we'll be out there from 10 to 1 doing our thing like we normally do. And by the way, Louis DeCuba's senior was excellent yesterday. If you missed the interview talking about the boxing matches that are coming to Hialeah Park, Joanny Argalagos, who is 8-0 with 4 knockouts. George Romero, who is 21-0 with 13 knockouts. Some really good young fighters are coming. A Mexican fighter by the name of Abram Martinez is 9-0-1 with 7 knockouts. Ariel Perez de la Torre is 6-0 with 5 knockouts. We're going to be there covering it on the 28th of this month, and we will be giving tickets away. So be ready for it and join us down there, man. We'll be broadcasting live. So if you buy tickets and get on down there or you win them, please come on by and say hi to us when we're out there. So thank you all out there for those of you hanging in. It looks like some of you dropped off at the moment because you thought I was going to go out right away. And no, we're coming back for a short time. Obviously, we've already done a couple of hours. Remember, Cash App or Venmo for the donations. That's Cash Big O Show is the address. That's Cash App or Venmo, Cash Big O Show. All right. So lots of things that we've talked about today on the show. A couple things that I wanted to address. And one of them, look, I know that this season is done for the Miami Dolphins. And I know that we don't have a ton of enthusiasm for the final game of the season. But I want to remind you, because here's where sometimes we are going to disagree or agree to disagree, however you want to phrase it. I don't believe that the players are playing at all for Flo. I think they were playing for themselves, just like they did for Tony Sperano, just like they did for Adam Gase, just like they've done for other coaches that started off poorly and they came back and had monster finishes. It didn't mean that they were any great coaches or anything like that. So Sunday is about, celebrating and supporting a guy like Emmanuel Ogbah and the effort that he gives on every down. It's about celebrating Jalen Phillips. I want to remind you of that. Okay? Here's a rookie that, was being played the wrong way at the beginning of the year. Didn't point fingers, didn't complain, didn't pout, didn't do anything while everybody was, pointing fingers at him. Some of you already calling Jalen Phillips a bust, all that stuff. And then finally, they played him the right way, and he took off and started getting a bunch of sacks and got the rookie record. It's about celebrating that. It's about celebrating Christian Wilkins becoming a better player. It's about watching Javon Holland. It's about Brandon Jones. It's about Jalen Waddle breaking Anquan Bolden's record. There's a lot of things to celebrate and admire still with the Miami Dolphins. Overall, we're super disappointed. I get it. I understand the disappointment because I live it with all of you out there. But as fans, as people that follow the team and cheer on these players and cheer on the organization, there are still good things inside the organization. A lot of good things. Just because we're frustrated with the overall outcome, let's not take it out on the people that actually, Raekwon Davis, man, he deserves to be celebrated. I like Van Ginkel. There are players I like on this team, man. Matt Collins, you know what I'm saying? I mean, how do you not like that guy? Robert Hunt has been maybe the only bright spot on the offensive line. So there are still things to admire. There are things to cheer for. We should support them all the way through because hey, man, the players never gave up on you, right? They worked their asses off. They didn't win last week because they weren't good enough and they weren't led by the proper people. That's all. But it's not like they gave up. They got beat. That's it. Happens. But they gave their all throughout. So I just kind of want to remind you, because I know that the anger takes over, the frustration takes over, the history of your anger takes over, the history of your frustrations over the last 20, 25 years take over, and then you lump everything in there, and it shouldn't be like that. You know, there are people on this team that are working their asses off. They've entertained us. They're part of the future of this team. And so, you know, listen, I get the game isn't going to mean anything in the big picture, but I'm going to be cheering for Jalen Waddle to break that record. I'm going to be cheering for Jalen Phillips to pick up another sack. I'm going to be cheering for Emmanuel Ogbah to get another sack so he can get a nice contract that he deserves, that I hope he stays. And I'm hoping Mac Hollins stays, and I'm hoping Mike Gesicki stays. These men aren't the problem with this team. They're part of the solution. So, you know, let's at least bask in that moment. All right? So this weekend, when you're watching them, raise a glass to those guys. You know, Brandon Jones, man, he's fun to watch. So have a little bit of a heart. Take a step back. We can be pissed off the rest of the offseason. We can discuss, argue, get frustrated about whatever happens or doesn't happen, who gets drafted, who does, and who signs, who doesn't. But on Sunday, you know, one of our favorite words here, compartmentalize. Okay? Leave your anger out. Leave your frustrations out. Cheer on Jalen Waddle, man. You know what I mean? Do that. He deserves it. All right? Anyway. What else do we have here? The NFL will now eliminate the Wonderlic. I don't know if you guys saw this. And this is a great conversation that I've had in the past many times over with many, many people. And because sometimes fans, or even I've seen media members, use the Wonderlic as a point of reference for a football player. And I always found it to be absolutely ridiculous because it had really nothing to do with football. But I will tell you, the Wonderlic can be used for one thing. And let me explain first. The NFL has informed teams around the league that a couple of changes to the pre-draft testing process will take place. On one hand, teams have been told that the infamous Wonderlic intelligence test will no longer be part of the combine regime. The problem with the test, outside of the normal criticism of such tests that no one could figure out what it had to do with the ability to play football. At the same time, the league has warned teams that they could lose a draft pick and face significant fines if clubs' reps conduct themselves unprofessionally in interviews with draft prospects. In fact, teams were advised that they could lose up to a first-round pick if it was determined that a club displayed conduct that is disrespectful, inappropriate, or unprofessional during an interview, like, hey, is your mom a whore? Anyway, in the past, there have been reports of players being asked about the sexuality and other inappropriate subjects. So when the last time you had heroin, how was it? Huh? That's how they do it. They don't ask you if you tried heroin. They will trick you into and say, hey, so, you know, when you tried heroin the last time, how was it? Did it affect you? And you're like, yo, dude, I never tried heroin. Oh, okay, we're just testing you. You know, it's one of those things. It's the Wonderlic is one that really it doesn't have anything to do with football. But I'll tell you this. In the days that you were paying a lot of money up front to rookies, or in today's world, when you're going to draft very early in the draft a quarterback, here's where the Wonderlic could actually help you out. It won't tell you if he's a good football player or not. There are guys that scored an 8 and a 10 and a 12 in the Wonderlic and became Hall of Famers. All right? you don't have to be an intelligent person to be a great football player. You do have to have football IQ. Okay? All right? Because Gronk, not a rocket scientist. I used to laugh at the people who used to tell me, oh no, Gronk, when he retires, he'll become a movie star. I go, the guy can barely put two sentences together. How's he going to become a movie star? And I get it. Before you tell me anything, Vin Diesel can only say 3 lines at a time. So I understand that. But still, come on, it's Gronk. I mean, he struggles with those banking commercials of his. They're like the cheesiest commercials in the world. But he'll be a great actor. But anyway, as I digress. So if you are going to, back in the day, give 30, 40, 50, 60 million up front, you got to know what kind of human being you're signing. Not football player, human being. If you're going to draft a quarterback now in today's world, early, not talking about a 3rd or 4th or 5th rounder, that's a project guy anyway. But if you're taking a guy number 1 or 3 or 5 or 7 or 8, you want to know what they are. So where I think the Wonderlic actually helps is you get to find out the intelligence level of the person, the general common sense of the person. So you now know that if you're going to give this person 50 million up front, well, this guy's not very bright. This guy doesn't understand these kind of things. So is this the guy we want to, and that's where I think it kind of comes in a little bit. Just to find out a little bit about the character of the human being. Maybe that would be the way it would help you. It was never going to determine whether you're going to be a great quarterback or defensive end or wide receiver or running back or anything like that. That's stupid. Questions had nothing to do with that. But it does have to do with common sense. It has to do with common decency and intelligence and those kind of things. And if that person is going to be the face of your organization, you'd like to know if they have common sense and decency and, priorities and those kind of things, right? And if you're going to give them 40, 50, 60 million dollars up front like they used to back in the day, then I think it's important to find out, okay, who am I giving $50 million to? And so that's the only time I thought the Wonderlic had any kind of use because of the investment that you're making as a franchise and the representation that player has for your organization. You know what I mean? But overall, you should find that out anyway by interviewing everybody throughout that person's life, and then you'll get your information either way because they can still BS you and lie to you on the test and answer it and give you the answer you want to hear. You know what I mean? But that's the only time I ever thought the Wonderlic, whenever I would hear and we would discuss football things and somebody would whip out, well, he wasn't good in the Wonderlic, I'd tear into that person right away because that's the dumbest thing in the world. Has nothing to do with football. Plenty of guys are dumb and they're great football players. And they understand the game and they can read defenses or offenses and they see the same things their teammates see on the field and they react the same way and all that kind of stuff because they can think like that. Doesn't mean they got to go solve, a really difficult math, problem or design the architecture for a house or something like. No, they don't need to do those kind of things. So Wonderlic is out for the NFL, which I think makes a lot of sense too. 855-912-1056, by the way. That's 855-912-1056. If you want to get in on the program, that's the text line. Big O, you hit it dead on with Gronk and his commercials. Yeah, they're just... Gronk couldn't even pull off a few wrestling moves, much less be a stuntman. Bobo Fett. Oh, he's Bobo Fett. I got you. Greer had a decent 2021 draft, but that doesn't make up for missing on all 3 first-rounders in 2020. Well, you assume they missed on all 3 first-rounders. Iggy has not played yet. To judge Iggy on a couple of outings is ridiculous, and Tua hasn't failed yet. You want to say Jackson? Fine. And you want to leave out Raekwon Davis, and you want to leave out Brandon Jones? I love how the lazy just go at the first rounders. And I forgot, that means your draft sucks. But if you hit on everything else, then that means you didn't do well. Whatever, bro. You know, I get it, man. One person repeats it, another one repeats it. You really don't think for yourselves. If Tua does develop into the quarterback, you don't even need Noah. If Raekwon, Brandon, and Tua. Oh, and by the way, the lineman is also from the 2020 draft, Hunt. He's the only one that's actually been good. So 3 players are already good from 2020. Raekwon Davis, Brandon Jones, and Robert Hunt. So if Tua hits, it's a monster draft already. You got your quarterback and 3 other players. But, the whiners will then point out at the 3 first-rounders, which you really can't pass judgment on 2 of them. But if you want to, go ahead. But that's how, look, DP is the same guy that said Mike Gesicki was a bust after year 1. It's the same guy calling Jalen Phillips a bust after the first month. It's the same guy that says Jalen Waddle's not good enough early in the season and then figures it out by the end of the year. I've seen this BS all over, okay? Because that guy there, DP, you're not going to tell me that he thought Gesicki was a winner also and that he was calling Jalen Phillips a winner right from the get-go when he wasn't getting anything done, wasn't even playing at times in the first month, 5 weeks of the season. That's what these kind of fans do. They just overreact, and they don't give things actual time. They don't really assess the situation on what's really going on, but that's fine. And then they look like idiots because they gave up on players way too early. So, same thing. See, nope, I love Gesicki from day one. He's a freaking liar. DP, you're a lying sack of crap, okay? You were calling Jalen Phillips a bust. You're probably calling Jalen Waddle a bust early, just like you're calling Tua a bust now, just like you were calling Gesicki a bust, just like you were probably calling Christian Wilkins a bust too. It's the same crap that goes over and over and over again, dude. It happens all the time. So just because you're pointing out, you think I'm going to believe that you weren't doing the same thing with other players, that you actually picked and choose? Get the hell out of here, bro. Go sell that bullshit to somebody else that'll buy it, because I'm not buying it, DP. Go ahead. Go sell it to some clown over there, because I'm not buying that. You're a liar. Willie says, Big O, sheeps and parrots all repeat. That's exactly it. Anthony says, Big O, take phone calls. Anthony, there will be no phone calls on this ever. Never. Ever. Okay? We will not have phone calls. All right? So don't ask for phones anymore. Stop asking for them. I already tried it on Onside. People use social media. People text. People don't even call each other anymore. They text each other. Those days are done. I'm not spending that money. That was the only regret I had on Onside, was that I added phones. That's the only regret I had. That's the only waste of money that we had on that whole system, was the phones. The phones were only good for interviews. That's it. You're better off taking the texts, and you can read them and you can go through them, because phone calls will chew up way too much time on the show. And it's better to just get your point out, and we move on, and we address it, and we move on, and it moves faster. So that I've learned, and I'm not going to bullshit you like others will, and they'll lie to you about, oh, yeah, we really want your participation. I want your participation, but your participation is going to happen this way. Not going to happen with phones. People don't use them. So we've got to work hard here for the money. Look, you know what? Anthony, how about this? You buy the phone lines and you pay for the phone lines, and we'll add the phone lines. There we go. Because I'm not working to add the phone lines. Not at all. But, Anthony, if you want to add the phone lines and you want to pay for them, you can go ahead and do that. You guys can do that. Big O, did you see Craig Seltzer from CBS 4 is leaving? Yesterday was his last day. Going to miss him watching. He's a good dude. He's a good dude. Good dude. Let's see. Big O, no twerking with dolphin thongs after Sunday. Okay. Let's see. You were ready to get rid of Jerome Baker this year since who's full of crap. I wasn't ready. I never said please find the audio where I said get rid of Jerome Baker. What I've said is that Jerome Baker has no business being in the middle of the linebacking spot because he's a light-bodied guy, and he's been like that from when he came out of college. Scouts told me he can't sift his way through the garbage, through the traffic. That's what they call traffic, garbage. He gets caught up in the garbage, and that's what happened. These idiots played him at middle linebacker, and he's useless at middle linebacker. Then they finally put him on the outside, because Flo's a genius. Because Flo has, Jalen Phillips covering instead of just rushing the passer. That's Flo. He's such a genius. He knows everything. He's so good. So, yeah, Jerome Baker, useless as a middle linebacker. Not his fault. You know what I mean? I can't do anything about that. I feel bad for our running backs. If the offensive line can't be coached up and can't open holes, it is what it is. So, never said get rid of Jerome Baker. At no point. You can go find the audio for me. Please show it to me. Love to hear it. It's all there, DP. It's all there, bro. All the podcasts there. Every word I've said is there. Every video is there. It's all there. So go find it. Baker is half a linebacker, not an every down guy. He's overpaid. We need a 3-down stud. No, Justin. See, you're misunderstanding, my brother. He is a 3-down linebacker, but on the outside, my brother. You're right. They need a thumper in the middle. They need a body. That's why they play Landon Roberts, who has limitations. He plays balls out, and I love his attitude. I love the force and the physicality he plays with, but he's still a limited person. That's why they got McKinney, but the coach didn't want McKinney, so then they had to get rid of McKinney. What are you going to do, bro? It's just one of those deals, but they need a thumper in the middle. But hey, listen, we're talking about a coach that thought Jalen Phillips should be covering. We're talking about a coach that thought Jerome Baker should be playing the middle of the field, right? We thought, let's see, what were the other stupid things? Oh, no, let's start the season with Malcolm Brown instead. Oh, no, I can work and I can win with Jacoby Brissett. This guy thought he could win with Jacoby Brissett. It just eventually he figured out he couldn't. So, we're talking about a coach that does a whole bunch of unconventional things. You know what I mean? Why do we need veteran linemen? We have all young linemen. That's Coach Flores for you. Why do we need Jakeem Grant? We have another returner. No, you don't. Oh, he's in the Pro Bowl. Yours or not. Okay. So, that's what happens, my man. Big O, as an NFL fan, I think this is going to be an exciting postseason, probably the best one yet in a while. Who you got in the NFL Championship and AFC? Anyone can win. Let's talk about that next week when it's all said and done, and we'll find out who's healthy and who's not, who's injured. And I'll give it to you. You know what I mean? And we'll get it done. Let's see. A Parsons Wagner type backer would be nice that can shed a blocker or use speed to close the gap quick and make tackles in the run game. True, Van Ginkel, Roberts, and Baker. No, they're not inside guys. They're outside guys. Right. All right. Well, Roberts, no. Landon Roberts is an inside guy. He doesn't have the athleticism to play on the outside. Baker and Van Ginkel do. Landon Roberts is the only guy that can possibly play the middle. He's just not good enough to be your starting middle linebacker. That's my point. He's your backup middle linebacker, not your starter. If you have a Landon Roberts as your starter, you're not good enough at that position. And I love how he plays. Okay? I'm a fan of how he plays. Big O, do you think game-managing QB with a really good defense and a run game will be able to beat Mahomes, Allen, or maybe even Burrow in a playoff game that doesn't have bad weather? It's happened before. If you have a really special defense, like Baltimore did years ago, or Tampa, or the Broncos of a few years back, where Peyton Manning Peyton Manning wasn't even a game manager. Peyton Manning is the worst quarterback in the history of the NFL to win a Super Bowl. Okay. Tua kicking the ball around with his foot. He doesn't have to, he doesn't even have to, not even with his right arm. Okay. He's better than Peyton Manning kicking the ball to the receivers with his foot. So are you. I mean, it was pathetic. Peyton Manning couldn't throw 10 feet, and he won the Super Bowl. They carried his ass to the Super Bowl with that defense in the running game. So anything is possible with a game manager, or even worse than a game manager, a broken down quarterback like Peyton Manning. So yeah, of course, but you have to have an elite team. Has to be elite all over the place, where you make the game manager like what they have with Tannehill in Tennessee. That with Derrick Henry in there, all they need is for him to make a couple of throws and run a little bit, and that's it. And they're good. He doesn't have to be the difference maker. He doesn't have to carry them. He just has to facilitate a couple of plays. The dude threw for 120 yards this week and easily won. He's won playoff games where he's thrown for 75 yards. So hell yeah, you can do it. But you got to have a really good team. Monster line and running game, defensive line. It's got to be, and a great coaching staff, by the way. Never forget that, Thompson. A great coaching staff, because that's usually what goes with all those things. Let's see. What else do we have? Eric says, I thought it was Adam Gase's play calling that won the Super Bowl. Sarcasm. Michael says, Bumper Pool guy legally changed his name to Bumper Pool. He has a lot of Zach Thomas attitude. I don't know what the hell that means. That one went way over me. By the way, I fixed the Eiffel Tower. Okay. So we were able to see the Eiffel Tower is fixed, baby. Was hard at work during that hour off for the Pallet Rock City Inside the Paint show. Hey, did you guys see that Isaiah Wilson got cut from the Giants? Did you see that story, Sean, about Isaiah Wilson? That is too funny, bro. I don't know if you caught it, but Isaiah Wilson is the Tennessee lineman that got cut, or no, traded to Miami, right, for nothing. Or maybe it was a conditional pick or something, or maybe he was a free agent signing. I forgot what it was. But anyway, they signed Isaiah. And remember that he was on that on the big ass truck and smoking and you know, doing crazy crap, and they just like, okay, we're done with this clown, right? So Isaiah gets signed by the Giants, and this is a guy that came out of Georgia, obviously with a high pedigree, ends up going in the first round, I believe. So according to ESPN's Jordan Renan, Wilson's contract during his time in the Big Apple, is what got him released. Isaiah Wilson was released from the practice squad. No comment, and then dependable last week on Wilson's foreshadow this week. The Giants took a crack at the troubled first-round pick, but I heard he was falling asleep in meetings with regularity. No good, it says. So my man was in the meetings, falling asleep. He's been cut twice already. 2 teams have told him, get the hell out of here. Here's a third team. You're on the practice squad, which doesn't assure you of anything, and you don't have the motivation to stay up and to stay focused and to try to become a player. And you've got all this God-given talent that the good Lord blessed you with. And Isaiah Wilson is sleeping on the job. I'll tell you a very quick story with John Avery. So John Avery, as you all know, or some of you know, Jimmy Johnson took John Avery late in the first round. And there's another story to, you know, what he should have been taken, you know, in those days. But whatever. Okay, so they take John Avery. And John was a really nice guy, by the way. Let me first preface by saying, not a bad dude at all. at least from what I've seen. I don't know what's happened to his life after. I know he went to the CFL and was able to play a couple of years in the CFL. But he wasn't the most responsible player in the world. So he had trouble staying awake in meetings. So here's what I would say to Isaiah. So John, we would interview John, right? And he would open his locker, and I noticed he had like 9 different flavors of Kool-Aid. And I go, John, what the hell is that? All that Kool-Aid up there. And he's like, man, that's for meetings. I got to mix up a big, like a big gulp size thing of Kool-Aid so I can drink it throughout the meeting and the sugar will keep me up. If not, I'll fall asleep. So I gave John Avery some credit there. At least he had an issue with it, but he found a way to stay up, and you would see him mix his big giant jug of Kool-Aid, and he was walking in for the meetings. And smart kid too, because he had different flavors. So it was an everyday thing, so he didn't want to get bored. And remember, John was probably on offensive meetings and special teams meetings because he was in both. So Isaiah Wilson should learn a little bit from John Avery and use a little Kool-Aid to keep you going. I love it. All right. Now we're done. And we thank all of you out there, as always, for tuning in and keeping it locked. Don't forget to hit the smash the like button, as always. If you want to make a donation, Cash App or Venmo, that is Cash Big O Show. That's Cash Big O Show on Cash App or Venmo if you want to make a donation, as always. Remember, if you want to become a sponsor of the program and join our proud family that you see there, really easy, man. Reach out to us at Big O Radio Show at yahoo.com or on my Twitter at Big O Show. You can hit me up in the DMs there. Appreciate it as always. Thanks to Sean Stanley. Excellent work. Excellent. Always a pleasure to work with that man every single day. We will see you all tomorrow live from Hialeah Park at 10 a.m., baby. Same time, same place, same bat channel. Have a great one. Love you all.
This is the Big O Show.
Sports fans love a place with great food, cold drinks, and TVs everywhere. That's why sports fans love Sports Grill and their 7 amazing locations. Check out the Bird Road location at 11481 Southwest 40th Street in the back corner of the West Bird Shopping Center. Sports Grill is also now offering some great employment opportunities. All kinds of positions are now available, from kitchen to hosting. Call for more information at 305-485-8845. From wraps to salads to amazingly delicious specialty dishes, Sports Grill is the home to the legendary special grilled wings. Since 1987, Sports Grill, good food, good drink, and good friends.
It's the Big O Show.